Well, greetings. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. We have a great show for you today because a lot has been happening in Hollywood the last week, actually, since the last time you were here, because the guest today is Kamran Pasha.
Honored to be back on, Andre, as always. This is really my favorite channel in the fandom, and I've been on all over the fandom, and I have a lot of affection for people, but I always love coming back here. I feel very at home here.
Well, and that's because you are at home, and we are always so appreciative whenever you come over and share your insights. And today, I'm so glad to have you on, because this is actually the 100th episode of the morning show at Midnight's Edge. So you are the perfect guest for it. Now, it would be great if Tom was here already, as I see Humdinger is saying in the chat. Where's Tom? Well, my best guess is that he is the same place as he always is when he's not here when the morning show begins. That would be in bed sleeping, because Tom otherwise never sleeps.
Which is where I should be, because it's 9 a.m. in Los Angeles, and those who follow know I sleep until 11 normally. I work till 3 a.m. and I sleep till 11. That's my schedule. It's only for you do I do the 9 a.m. thing.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And also, Joey says the prophet returns. And yes, this is why we appreciate
I'll go with
having
I'll go with seer. That's less controversial a word.
Seer. Oh, yes, exactly. Seer. Well, and I'm very happy to have built your reputation as a seer.
Well, you've actually helped me, Andre, because I've been predicting stuff in Hollywood for the last 20 years with my friends, and finally the whole world seems like, because I've had my butt kicked by this town, and so I see how its dynamics work, right? And I'm like, okay, well, that went wrong for this reason. Oh, that's what happened afterwards. Oh, and so it just makes me laugh. And now suddenly I'm like, I have a platform to say, well, after 20 years of watching how silly this town is and how predictable the patterns are, I can share them with people.
Yeah, some things are just always the same, aren't they? So yeah, and we're going to get into that because now so much is happening. We have, as we've learned now in the last 24 hours, Amazon will be buying MGM, which is a huge thing in its own right. And that would be the main topic. But again, everything is changing right now. It's a huge reset, if you will.
Yeah.
So it's actually not the most interesting thing. Since we have you here, we want to talk a little bit about how Marvel is starting to look a little bit more like the next Lucasfilm, which I believe is something that you kind of foresaw, because the trailer for Eternals, I don't know what kind of response they expected for that, but it was probably much worse than they had anticipated.
Well, I think they were startled because they're used to Marvel being easy money. They're used to that. They're used to Marvel being a broadly accepted brand. And so any kind of resistance, they're not used to the kind of negative feedback that Star Wars has been getting. So.
I have a feeling they better start getting used to it, because Phase 4 is looking like a dumpster fire so far, you ask me.
Well, it's something we talked about on the channel, which is that we've seen the signs for it for probably at least a year, or maybe even more, ever since Avengers Endgame played out. And even before that, I think we saw that with Ms. Larson's at Captain Marvel, the beginnings of the awakening of Marvel. We saw that, and my perspective on why this is happening and why it's going to play out for a while longer is that exactly because Marvel has been a very, very successful brand for the last decade, they're going through what Hollywood went through just before Disney bought Star Wars, which is there's a sense of presumption that it's going to continue going this way. And it is that whole Chinese prophecy that we said, or the Chinese parable of wealth is lost in 3 generations. First generation creates it, second generation spends it, third generation squanders it. And so we've actually watched the first couple of generations, evolving on Marvel in front of us, right? The first generation was created with some very risky entrepreneurial actions, such as starting the entire Marvel universe with Iron Man, who wasn't necessarily the most popular character from that universe, and doing a wonderful job of it with Mr. Favreau, and doing this brilliant job of the original Iron Man movie, which may go, wow, okay, they're doing something interesting here, and then building step by step that world. So we saw the first generation of that. And then we started seeing, some of the second generation stuff where they're making movies that are not necessarily of the same caliber. I enjoyed Ant-Man. I think the sequel probably, wasn't up as the highest level of caliber it could have been. So we had a little bit of phoning in stuff started happening at that point. I think that, the major moment was Captain Marvel, not necessarily Brie Larson's casting, but allowing her PR image to go a certain way at the time. I personally think Brie Larson's a perfectly fine actress. If she allows herself to act and doesn't. Right now, she for a while she was playing the role of the angry white woman because that was kind of in Hollywood at the time, right? And they let her do that in PR until they began to realize that was a bit of a PR disaster. But by then, she had created the impression of being sort of the woke aunt next door, who's I'm going to call the manager on you. She had created that perception, but that's exactly when we began to notice that second generation start happening, where they still were profitable. What one can argue why or how it made that $1 billion, assuming that those numbers are correct, Captain Marvel, but it was successful, at least a one-time shot, and then they had their blowout with they sort of sunsetted the first two generations with Avengers Endgame. And now they're building this third generation here, which is what the Chinese say, which is the generation that squanders things. And we're beginning to see that now with the way they're handling their properties, with the way they're handling, Falcon Winter Soldier, where they've decided to make it this overtly political thing. Captain America would be overtly political in the past, but Captain America was overtly political in a way that was very universal. When we had, Captain America coming out and telling Nick Fury, this isn't freedom, this is fear. Everyone can accept freedom is good and fear is bad, right? So that was a universal kind of comment, which represents what Captain America as a comic that really started in World War II would say. So that wasn't shockingly political. That's natural for that character and on brand. Now we're getting to a place where Falcon Winter Soldier, we're suddenly getting a lot of commentary on race and Black Lives Matter and police abuse, all these things. This is what happens when you've got a company that's been flush with cash for well over a decade and is getting overconfident that the brand itself sells. And I think Mr. Feige started that path a couple of years ago. He in many ways a very successful guy, but he's human like everybody else. And I'm sure, like everyone else in the industry, he's been facing the same social pressures that Andre, you and I talk about, the cocktail party circuit. He has risen up that cocktail party circuit over the course of a decade rapidly, from a guy that people didn't know much about to one of the biggest players in town. That's a lot for any individual to take on, and that's huge pressure. And you want to be liked by your colleagues, and when your colleagues are all spouting this woke nonsense, and maybe sometimes at the cocktail party they're ribbing you that, I see that you still got the old white guy in charge, right? And you start getting that ribbing, you want to show everyone, no, I'm with you. I'm accepted into the club, and I'm going to start showing you that I'm part of the club, right? And it's the cocktail party club phenomenon that I think we're witnessing happening here. Because I think from the traditional businessman that Mr. Feige was smart enough to avoid those things, but now he's reached a certain level where he's feeling the social pressures to conform, which is strange because it's exactly at the moment when those people in the cocktail party are figuring out, this isn't going to make us money, so we got to start changing our narrative. So it's fascinating to watch him go deep into this phenomenon when everyone else is beginning to back out. But that's what happens when you have this rapid rise into the club, and become accepted for the first time after being an outsider. So I've given a lot of information there, but that really is what I think is happening here.
I agree completely. I think that's exactly what it is, that he suddenly got invited to cocktail parties he never, ever was supposed to have been invited in. And with that came pressure with, look and see how virtuous we are. Why aren't you this virtuous? And then suddenly he has to do something.
Platform. Kevin, you have this platform. Why aren't you using this platform to do the right thing? But the funny thing of that is when people, because we had started figuring out just before the events of last year, I think I even said on this channel that things were beginning to change in Hollywood. So about January, February of last year, of 2020, before the large medical and human rights events that happened last year, the industry had begun to figure out that woke wasn't going to make the money, that go woke, go broke. They had figured it out. They had figured it out actually by the time that we had Birds of Prey sort of limp out into its release. They had already figured it out the year before when you had Charlie's Angels fail, not because it was necessarily a bad movie or even a woke movie, but because the marketing was woke. Same thing with Terminator Dark Fate. It was presented as this political movie when, it really wasn't in many ways. Although, people were very upset with what was done with John Connor at the beginning, because you got to kick out the white male hero. So they figured out that this wasn't a profitable way to go. And then during the events of last year, people started going back to pretending to be woke because they became afraid of political backlash when there was actually, cities are on fire in America. And so nobody wants that nonsense in their lives. And now that's over, that the election is apparently over and all of these things, the people in the Cocktail Party Club have started saying, okay, it's time to make money again. Okay. And that's what we're witnessing with Lucasfilm and Star Wars and other places that are beginning to try to realize that. And that's exactly when Mr. Feige has entered into the club. And there's a little bit almost of Schadenfreude, of people enjoying his downfall in the industry. People that already figured out this doesn't work are probably the ones egging him on at the cocktail party from a competitive place. They're like, hey, Kevin, you got to be making some political comments. Do you see where society is? You have this great platform. And these are people that know that's not going to help him. And they know that that's going to hurt him, and that's their goal. It really is very junior high school.
Yeah, I can well believe that. And the challenge is that this is not something that happened now. This is something that would have happened like 2-3 years ago, when the stuff that we're seeing right now is greenlit, which is why basically Phase 4, up till the things which haven't filmed yet, is already done, is already toast. Message is already in there. This
was set in motion. You're exactly right, Andre. This was set in motion a few years ago. This is the delay that a lot of people don't understand that happens in the film industry. All that whole slate of woke marketed movies, Charlie's Angels, the Terminator Dark Fate, Birds of Prey, they had been put in motion right around the time that that Ghostbusters female reboot.
I can say exactly when they came in. Like, for instance, if you just look at Birds of Prey, that was something that was greenlit in between Deadpool coming out and before Ghostbusters coming out and flopping, but when it was part of the conversation. Right around that time would have been when the decision was made for those movies, and then the decisions were made which there were no going back from. That's exactly. And you can totally tell in, for instance, Birds of Prey, that is something that was greenlit after someone said, "Oh wow, Deadpool is awesome," because it's Deadpool all over and it's Ghostbusters all over.
Yeah, let's combine these two things that the industry is buzzing about at the cocktail party circuit. We're gonna revamp Ghostbusters, take away the white male, even though there was a black male in Ghostbusters. We all forget about him, wonderful character. But we're gonna take away the
best character of them all, because he was the everyman character.
He was us. He was the audience, right?
Yeah.
What am I getting into here? And so that was the cocktail party circuit. And because movies take a very long time and they're trained that once you start moving, you can't stop that train. Television shows, I've worked a lot in television, are very different, right? They're done very rapidly and you can course correct a lot faster. And because there's this rapid release schedule that you have to stay to, and you're like, okay, the first couple episodes are not working on the ratings. Let's fix that. Let's fix the next episode because we have the time to do it within the framework. With movies, there's no pressure of time, and so you churn it out, and then the machine starts going, and you can't stop the machine until you release it. And then when you release it, the world has already changed, which is the trap that Mr. Feige fell into. It'll be fascinating. Okay, I'm going to give a prophecy here. Wait.
Give me 1 second here. Okay, give us a prophecy.
So this is my next prophecy, and this is my first time I've ever tried to prophesy for a prophecy for Marvel. Because I think the Marvel Phase 4 was set in motion several years ago at a time when Mr. Feige was entering certain new circles of power, and those circles were pretending to be woke and pretending to care about certain political things. That he decided he needed to, as he's now part of the upper elite club, he's got to conform to that, and he's got to conform his property to that. And so he adjusted his his very successful property down a path that will, in my opinion, not be very successful, certainly not as successful as it was in the past with Phase 4. And so my prophecy is this, is that as these projects that were put in motion with this sort of woke philosophy inserted into them over the past several years, as they start actually appearing on screen or on television over the next year to next, let's say, 18 months, you will start, and the reaction is negative, then I think you're going to start seeing articles in the trades about, has Feige lost his touch, right? And what I think those will be exactly the same cocktail party set that set him up, that gave him the bad direction to go on while they themselves were already getting off that track. To me, this is all sort of competitive pressures, blackmail, right? If you want to be part of us, you got to do this while we're already actually not doing this anymore. And there's a little bit of almost like a fraternity hazing going on for the new kid. And we're going to start seeing that when we start seeing articles in the trades about, Kevin Feige no longer having the mojo he once had. He's always had the mojo. He just fell into a trap that was set up for him by the people of the fraternity he was joining, right? So he's getting hazed. And so we're going to see those articles come out, probably not now. I would say, this is one of those things where let's touch back in a year on it. And after we've had a few of these things released and we're seeing people's reactions to it, then I think that will come down that his star is no longer that bright. And that's when he's going to have the wake-up call that Bob Chapek had when the Forbes article came out, that the system is no longer on your side. You need to act. And that will also be the moment where he realized he got played by the industry. He got this incredible success, which I'm sure many, many people were resentful of because he wasn't in the club. We've talked about on this channel, we've talked about how the Hollywood is very much a club. It's a mafia. And it resists any efforts for you to come in, especially if you aren't part of the multi-generational, multi-family mafia that has existed for a century in this town. If you come in as an entrepreneur, they resist you. Same thing happened with George Lucas. They don't want to give George Lucas awards, even though he's one of the greatest filmmakers of the past century, because he wasn't part of the mafia. He came in and he outsmarted the mafia. He got his movies made, and he kept the toy rights and became a billionaire. And that's outsmarting the mafia, and they don't like that. So he's, I always think that what happened with George Lucas, almost like ruining his baby, was also a personal thing. It wasn't just that people were drunk on power, which they were at Disney and at Lucasfilm post Lucas. They were drunk on power and wanted to siphon off his baby, Star Wars. There was also a personal resentment because everyone who's in charge of Star Wars over the past decade was part of the club, was part of that inner club. And so now they were going to erase his infamous effort to try to break free of the club. And I think Mr. Feige is going to face the same. He embarrassed them by the success of Marvel and entering into this club that they didn't want him as part of. And so they gave him bad advice. And now I think he's going to learn the hard way that he was taken for a ride, in the same way that I think Mr. Lucas has learned the hard way that he was basically lied to. And then you're going to have to ask questions of, why was I lied to? And then the horrible realization comes that it's because you're not one of the club. And that's one of the most shocking realizations for people, because everyone wants to believe that they're accepted in this town for their talent, their genius. And then the realization that the people in this town who have power often lack talent and genius, but are part of a multi-generational club and who want to preserve that realization can be quite shattering. And it'll be fascinating to see how Mr. Feige comes to understand that he got played by this industry, which is what I believe has happened.
It'll be very fascinating and interesting to follow just that. And we are about to start looking into how the effects of him being played are starting to play out with the response to the Eternals trailer. Then we're going to get into Shang-Chi and China, and a little bit later on, Amazon and MGM. Before that, though, we have more than 1,000 people watching. Actually, we have close to 1,200 watching. That's awesome. Please do us a favor and hit like, because that really, really does help to overcome the algorithm, which isn't necessarily a fan of the kind of content that we put out there, especially not the thumbnail, which is like very China inspired right now, and they're kind of protected a little bit still. Although that may be changing, we're getting into that, and we have a huge crowd watching, so that's awesome. See so many members in the chat and so many regular watchers. That's brilliant. We have Max here. We have Natasha here, ever loyal wrench. So don't try anything. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Mexican Iron Man, good friend and contributor to Midnight's Edge Espanol that you all should go and check out. Says for $20. Thank you so much. Hail Andre, and special welcome to my brother Kamran Pasha. Hail the return of our favorite soothsayer. Mr. Pasha's superhero name should be The Predictor, guardian of the secrets of fandom.
You're going to do it. You're going to do it. Do it.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers.
You did it! You did it! The 13th warrior rises again. Ibn Fadlan is so happy.
Yes. I only practice it when you're here, but I'm so glad to get that practice out of it. And then Kit Kat. Also great channel member, good supporter of the channel. Thank you so much, Kit Kat. Says for £10. Mm-hmm. Disney has alienated a huge portion of the Western audience while counting on a bailout from the Far Eastern audience, only to find that their woke rubbish alienates the entire Far Eastern audience. Hold that thought, because we're going to get into that momentarily. As for bailout, they already got one. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. We also have, we have a couple of other super chats as well. I'm going to go through them now when we have the opportunity. Pixel Supreme says for 20 Swiss francs, hail Midnighters, just dropping some support. Well, thank you so much. We really, really appreciate that support. It really is instrumental in helping us do what we do, which is to try to keep you all informed, exposing what's really going on with the corporate politics and what actually is behind the decisions and the politics that influence our subculture, so that you can vote with your wallet what you like and what you don't like, because it's ultimately your vote as audience that determines the direction of the industry. We can try to force things for a while, but it only goes for so long. So that's what we try to do, and we need your help to do it. And then those are the super chats that I can bring up on screen, but we have some older ones as well. Cesario JPN started us off today for $5, saying, started off saying, would be great for the topic at hand if you got YouTubers versed on China, like ADV China, the duo of Serpenza and Laowi86, or China Uncensored. I follow China Uncensored on Twitter actually. That would be great to have them on at some point. Yeah. So good suggestion, but today Kamran is the guest of honor, so we're going to stick with his with his tales from the industry. We'll focus on that for the time being. So good to see you back again. Says for $5. Hi, gents. Hello, everyone. And Cultured Casino. Great to see you, my friend. Sorry I couldn't join your show yesterday. I was busy at the time, but I'll make an effort next Tuesday. So check out Cultured Casino every Tuesday for his live show. Usually featuring Tom, sometimes myself. Cultured Casino says, hail and good morning, everyone. Stephen Otten says, hail Andre, Kamran, Wrenches, and Midnighters. Happy 100th episode. Oh, thank you so much. And Hypergiver 2 says, what I don't understand is China makes up an average of 13% of the box office take. Why pander to such a small amount of the overall profits? Well, we're going to get into that, but the 13. It's not that it's 30% of the total box office. It's 30% of the Chinese box office, and given that China is, I'm going to call it, the biggest box office market in the world right now.
It is, and as
30%.
it is, and as the person in the chat pointed out, it's not necessarily the most profitable for Hollywood, so that creates a very interesting dynamic.
Yeah, that it is not. It's far from the most profitable, but still, if you get 13% of the biggest market in the world compared to no percent of the biggest market in the world, that's why they pander. And then, of course, and we'll get into this later on. Then they also had the hope that maybe China would soften up a little bit and give them more down the line with some renegotiations. And they probably also were hoping that China would have some nice land to sell them in Dumpwater, Florida, or some bridges, Texas. But yeah, we'll get into that.
Yeah, and everything, and we're going to talk about more in China. But the long and short of it is that people in Hollywood are not seers. They could not see that China would not play out the way that they thought it would, because everyone's getting excited by the new shiny thing that's in front of them, the new shiny source of money, and not understanding what that actually was. And now they're learning it.
Yeah. And we also have Tom joining us. Good morning, Tom. Did you sleep well?
No.
Oh, well, you're here at least. So yay. And Lord Trinan, this is one we can bring up on screen, says, can never miss a Kamran episode. And congrats on episode 100. Please help us make sense of Hollywood's eye-spinning state. We're going to do just that. So just strap in, find the popcorn. Going to be a real doozy here.
Yeah.
And then Granvasu42 says, congrats to 100 Midnight's Edge in the morning, Andre. Oh, thank you. Thanks, Kamran, for enlightening us in this manner. Mechanisms of Hollywood. May peace be upon you and your family.
Peace be upon you. Very, very gracious. Thank you.
Yes. And Somos US says, for $5 Canadian, they may not be able to change the movie, but what about the wokeness in marketing? They still seem to be pushing that. Thoughts? Well, just hold on for it. We'll get into that momentarily. So just wait a tiny little bit, and we're gonna get into and answer that, because that's like the next part of the thing here. See if there's anything else I can bring up. Yeah, no, that was fine one. Then back to the classics. Let's see here. No, actually, we can also bring up the Rubber Band Man, who says, as a Black American, God help us for Black Panther 2. The wokeness is going to go crazy. Kamran, how will they replace Chadwick Boseman? Well, feel free to answer that one real quick here.
Yeah, I mean, Chadwick was a brilliant actor, and his passing was an incredible tragedy. That actually really hit people Hollywood hard. People didn't see it coming. And I think there was very sincere grief at his passing. There's a lot of sort of like, I'm gonna like that guy because he's Black. People just liked him, right? And they liked him, and he was a great actor. And as far as we can see, he was a very decent human being, which is actually not common in Hollywood. So there was a deep sense of loss in the industry. That said, they've got to make money on this. They got to recast, and so they're going to go through that process. But I think the biggest problem is going to be the script, right? Because now, as we're going to talk about, is Kevin Feige has now been suckered into this woke thing that isn't in his interest. The original Black Panther was a very good movie, and it was political, but it wasn't woke. There's a difference. It talked about things that are true. It talked about colonialism of Africa. It talked about racial issues in a real way. And at the same time, it had a Black villain as well as a Black hero, right? And the villain was someone that was, in many ways, he was reacting to that history and to his personal life experience in a very negative fashion. He was the kind of, he had become the kind of extremist that we're seeing, unfortunately, out there, rallying and burning down things and attacking police officers today. and he was the villain of the movie. So the challenge they're going to face right now is how do they do Black Panther, which is already a Black empowerment story. It's inherent to the story. These guys are African and they have incredible technology beyond everybody else. And, so this is going to be a challenge of how to actually just continue that tradition of Black Panther as a good movie that is self-confident in its Black cast, rather than using them as a trope to make a message. And this will be a test to see if Mr. Feige gets pulled further into this trap that has been set for him. And we'll see it in the script. If it becomes this woke preachy thing that alienates the audience and alienates people in the Black community, then I think that the trap will have finally closed in totally around him, and that will be the beginning of, is it time for Mr. Feige to step down? And it won't be because no one in Hollywood will claim it's because the script doesn't work. It's because, any more than they've been willing to admit that The Last Jedi doesn't work, right? Even though we all know it. And so, we'll see how it plays out. This will be the absolute test, because it's the hardest moment he's going to face. Can he actually go back to making entertaining movies? And, he's been pulled into something that is blinding him to reality, especially because of the current situation on issues of race, Black Lives Matter, critical race theory. All of those things is a trap for him. And we're just going to have to see if he figures it out. Maybe he'll watch his video and figure out he's being played. I don't know.
It will be very interesting to find out. A couple of more super chats before we move on. Dash D's says, "Rest in peace, Warrant Officer Skabinski. 2 tours of Bosnia, a loving father, faithful husband, leads in respect to his men, put a foot in your ass when needed. My section commander, my mentor, never forgotten." Okay. Well, he sounds like a great man. So kudos to him, and thanks for his service to his memory. And then we also have, let's see if I can get it on screen here, because there was a big one that I would really like to get on. Yeah, there we got it. Goskar Farlat says, for $100. Thank you so much. What 100 episode. Good luck in the future, guys. Also, Kamran, always great to have you on and have your insight.
Wait, it's the 100th episode? Shit.
Yes, it's the 100th episode.
What are you grumbling about? You slept in. I woke up. Even though I don't want to wake up at 9 a.m. But I woke up.
Well, yeah.
Tom was up late editing a next video that will be out very soon. But yeah, Goskar, for that, thank you so much for your kind words and for the generous super chat. It really does make a huge difference to what we do. And Amenti says
Oops. Sorry about that.
Yeah, Amenti says the divorce with China is inevitable. They're too fickle and demanding to cater to, and woke politics do not sell there anyway. Hollywood wants everything, and their greed will leave them with nothing. Yeah, this is referring to an article that we'll touch on momentarily. Before then, Tom, if you can bring up that previous super chat that you had there.
Dash D sent in another one and said, sorry to interrupt after I got the news. I had to honor him. Thank you for allowing a few moments. Sorry to interrupt. No interruption at all, Dash D.
No, absolutely. We value giving kudos and respect to those that deserve it. So no need to apologize.
And I think we got this one here.
We got this one, yes. Philip Almares says, when Hollywood has a villain in a movie, isn't race of the villain the only thing they look at? Scared of getting anyone mad?
Anymore, it seems to be the case. Unless they're a white man, they're not allowed to be, a bad guy anymore.
Well, which is fascinating for me to watch, because as a Muslim guy who is, watching from childhood, we went through the long period of the Muslim villain, right? There's actually a wonderful book and a film by Jack Shaheen called Real Bad Arabs, which looks at the history of how Hollywood has portrayed people of the Middle East and the Muslim culture largely in negative ways, throughout history. And then they sort of come to this woke moment here where they're like, well, what do we do now? Because, these are people of color or BIPOC or whatever the new phrase of the week is, right? And, we want to pretend that we actually like Muslims when we don't. And so we got to do it politically. So they're in this strange place right now where, as a kid, I would watch the Muslim terrorists taking over the airplane, always played by some Puerto Rican guy, right? Who's pretending to be Arab because brown's good enough, right? That was where I was as a kid. And now we're at this place where you can't have any brown villains. Although there will always be, there are a lot of people in the industry that really dislike Islam and really dislike Muslims. So you're going to have the Muslim villain showing up. It'll be brought around they'll find another way to be woke. But other kinds of villains are challenging. And so I'm watching TV, I'm watching some of these sort of, CBS crime procedural shows. And, whenever the white guy, whenever the villain tends to be the white guy. He tends to be the white guy. I watched an episode of FBI, what is it? Most Wanted. And there was a recent episode probably a couple of weeks ago where the villain was a Serbian guy, a Serbian American guy born here who was killing people, because he was upset about America's war in the Balkans, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. And so, they're it's now essentially the Eastern European Russian villain, which they're doing. And they'll recycle the Muslim guy whenever they can, but they'll try to balance it out with sort of the good woke Muslim who's against the bad, conservative traditional Muslim who's blowing up stuff, right? And so that's how they're going to do it. But this town is quite silly when it comes to villains. The reality is everyone is a villain and everyone should be a villain. But, the industry flips around. So
yes, and with that we have a couple of more super chats to get through. So there are some questions for Kamran that we haven't answered yet. Yeah. We are going to get to all of them in the end, but first we're gonna get on with the show a little bit real quick before we move into Hollywood seemingly starting to distance themselves from China by way of the trades. Before that, real quick, the Eternals trailer. This was dropped just a few days ago, and I do not think I have ever seen a more polarized. Actually, I haven't seen it. Wasn't polarized. I've never seen a more negative response to a Marvel trailer ever than to the Eternals. And this is from a company that was even able to make Avengers Age of Ultron look like a masterpiece based on the trailer. Not here, though. Here they put in inconsistency. They seem to play down the wokeness a little bit, because we know that several of the Eternals are, how do we say, they do not conform to traditional gender roles and identities. That appears to have been toned down a little bit, but still, this did won very few people over. Do you think that Marvel and Disney saw this coming? And what do you think about the response? And also, will it get released in China?
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is this, because Marvel is part of Disney and Disney has gone through its own chaos because of Lucasfilm, there's information flowing. Like I said, I do believe Kevin Feige was led into a trap, but the trap is now in motion, right? I mean, these wheels are hard to stop, as we're seeing on Lucasfilm. Once wheels turn, it takes a tremendous amount of effort to attempt to course correct, right? And so people at Disney are aware that woke is broke. They're aware of that, but they're barely able to get Lucasfilm back on track, right? That's taking all of their energy and focus to try to fix that mess, so that they're not really able to convey to Marvel, maybe you should get off this track, because we want to make money. And that's going to become more evident to them as product comes out that isn't as profitable as it should be. And I think the reaction to the Eternals trailer will be a wake-up call, if any, within Marvel, within the studio, saying, this isn't what we expected. Why are we getting this? We've never gotten this kind of negative feedback. Even our worst films haven't got this kind of negative feedback, added on to the feedback they've been getting about Falcon and Winter Soldier. It's going to be a question of whether that feedback penetrates through the pride that people within Marvel have of their track record. That pride can blind you. And like I said, if you're led into a trap, you can't see it because you're too proud to see it, because you're a successful person who outsmarted the system and don't realize that the system is actually playing you now. So it'll be interesting. I think the problem is they've got stuff in the works, so we're gonna have to see how the rest of that plays out. Look at what's happening with Captain Marvel. Okay, now it's apparently going to be a film focusing on all the Marvels, right? You got Ms. Marvel, right? Who's a nice Pakistani Muslim girl, right? And you've got Ms. Rambeau, who was the original Captain Marvel in the comics, right? And so somebody woke up and realized, well, we actually whitewashed her. We took Rambeau and placed Brie Larson on top of her, right? And so they're trying to fix those dynamics, and partly because I think Marvel figured out that Brie Larson's success in Captain Marvel was more due to where it was positioned on the release rather than her playing that role. And so already they're getting people who are concerned about Miss Marvel and whether whether Miss Marvel show is going to be woke. I'm going to hold off on commenting specifically on Ms. Marvel for a very specific reason. I have several friends who I've mentored, young Muslim writers who wrote on that show. And I haven't seen it, so I'm not going to comment on what they did until I see it. And even then, I'll if I don't like it, I'm going to have a private talk with them rather than blasting it out here, because I think that's not fair to people I've mentored, kids that are trying to figure out how to survive in this industry. But we'll see where that goes. If the reaction is not positive to Ms. Marvel, that's another feedback point. And I hope that they begin to start realizing that they've been put onto the wrong track, and now they got to figure out the train. It's like Hollywood is like a train. It's not that easy once you've turned on this track to suddenly another track isn't there. So now you got to find a way to get back to that track that you were on, and that's going to be the challenge. Hopefully, it won't be more data points, but I think they will need more data points. I think Ms. Marvel is going to be the canary in the coal mine, as to whether the audience likes where they're going. So we'll see.
You could be right, but I'm not so sure they're not aware of certain things, because they were keeping the Eternals like under wraps for a reason. And I think that's because they probably knew they had a stinker on their hands.
Sure.
As far as the Captain Marvel thing, I think a lot of us predicted that. They probably saw, that she was not very popular. Not only that, I mentioned, she got such a high payday up front. The rest of these guys that are involved didn't get their big paydays until their third, fourth, fifth appearance.
Yeah.
So I said that early on. They're probably going to work her out because she was just there to get people on board with the character, I think, more so.
Yeah, and there's probably some stuff going on behind the scenes that I'm not going to say.
I mean, I could be wrong, but I think they might be a little bit more aware than we think. And I mean, I'm starting to see it. I saw another story today that kind of goes with the whole maybe setting up of things changing behind the scenes at Disney, because all of a sudden J.J. Abrams realized, we probably should have had a plan going in. Well, see, I would accept that out of him and laugh at it, except he knew they needed a plan going in. He's been saying this for the last 10 years. And the news leaking out was there was a plan. It just got tossed out the window. So I think that's more code of they're trying to pass the buck up the way. So you could be right that I think they're prepping for somebody to get let loose. I don't know if it's going to be Kathy, but it may be somebody else a bigger fish in the Lucasfilm pond.
I don't know that there's any other fish. I mean, it's pretty much Ms. Kennedy and a bunch of clowns.
You could be right, but Pablo would be a big win if we can get rid of his ass.
Well, I mean but again, I just consider him chief flying monkey. I don't think he's got.
No, I know what you mean, but like he's like worm tongue in more of a sense than anything. I think Kathy makes a lot of her moves according to what he says.
It's certainly plausible. She's because and he's one of these guys. You're like, you were trained by Lucas, so what the hell happened to you, man? What's going on with you? But it's one of the great mysteries.
Indeed, but let's move on to the main track.
It because could be her. Marvel, I just don't want to be accused of saying that Kathleen Kennedy is going to be leaving. That's all.
I've said it. I don't care. People keep saying you've said it 1,000 times. Yeah, but because it's a train and it's a process, and it's a process I saw coming a long time ago. So you just got to let it play out.
Yes, indeed. Before we move on, just to hammer in the earlier point, Stephen Otten says, in honor of Warrant Officer Skabinski, I thank you for your service. My condolences to his family and friends at Dashties. Yes, indeed. And then, since we do a couple more, I can also bring up on screen. Tonnerser3 says for $5, could the overt focus on inclusion here be overcompensation for dealing with China? And on that note, let us get into what I think may be one of the longest articles I have ever seen come out of the Hollywood Reporter. Because a few days back, they put up an article about Hollywood's dependency on China. This is the Hollywood Reporter.
Hello?
Just look at this artwork right here. There you have, here you have a picture of the most powerful man in the world. And to his left, President Biden. And to his right, Bob Iger. Yeah. So it's very clear who is being painted in here. And then you also have like the Hollywood sign in the background here, but now with Chinese characters and some other banned people in the cross behind here. So a very, very telling artwork. Now, this is a very long article, so I'm not going to read the whole thing of it. Kamran, I trust that you have read it.
Yeah, and it's there's broader things happening than Hollywood here, and let's go through the article, and then I'll give my opinions. This is part of a broader political things that's happening in the United States for a variety of reasons. But let's get into it.
Yes,
well,
exactly.
My internet was just fucking up during this, but I wanted to bring this point up too. I've said this many times over, where I wonder if this wokeness isn't Hollywood trying to overcompensate for the fact that they know they're dealing with China, so it's almost like trying to hide their tracks. Because a lot of the times the stuff they throw in is things that are easily cut out over there, like the whole Kiss and Rise of Skywalker and shit like that.
Well, they're very aware. They're very, very,
that's
very
what I'm saying.
aware of what sells over there, right? So they tailor the wokeness so they can sell. That's very conscious and it's intentional. Whether that has galvanized them to be woke, I think that's not the issue. I think the pretend woke is because of internal American cultural and political issues, but then the realization of economics forces them to do woke in this fake way that they can cut around it.
Indeed, I think that's a very valid point right there. Getting back into the article at hand, let's see. Just disappeared on me here.
Yep.
Yeah, here we go. Again, this is a very long article. It's titled, From Deal Frenzy to Decoupling. Is the China-Hollywood romance officially over? And then the byline is, 5 years after an unprecedented era of frenzied East-West deal-making, cash flow has stopped, Donald Trump's trade war lingers, censorship is on the rise, and human rights abuses in the Middle Kingdom have upended business prospects for the US film industry. It's hard to know what's going to happen. And then it begins with some Disney censorship. It's talking about in the run-up to Chloe Zhao's historic Best Director win for Nomadland, then Disney made it clear to the Hollywood press that the director must be referred to as Chinese or a Chinese national. So no one must be able to say like American, Asian, or anything like that. No, Chinese.
Which let me interrupt there, Andre, because what's interesting is Ms. Zhao is a very vocal critic of the Chinese Communist Party. So that's very interesting. So Hollywood, on one level, well, I'm not going to comment as to whether she was given the award because she's Chinese. Hollywood was certainly willing to promote her as Chinese, and then they didn't quite realize she's actually quite a passionate critic of the Chinese government, right? And to the point that the Chinese have insulted her publicly, right? And so again, this is people not understanding the culture that they were dealing with and what the dynamics are.
Yes, very, very good point. And then the article goes on to emphasize then the China, and it goes through then more of the deal making that happened with that specific title, and also how Zhao in particular made herself persona non grata. Because what she said, and this is a line that Disney, after the fact, were able to censor from an interview. So Zhao, she put this statement out there. This is what got her blacklisted. Referring to growing up in China, she says, it goes back to when I was a teenager in China, being in a place where there are lies everywhere. You felt like you were never going to be able to get out. A lot of info I received when I was younger was not true, and I became very rebellious toward my family and my background. I went to England suddenly and relearned my history. Studying political science in a liberal arts college was a way for me to figure out what is real. On that note, I just have to add, good thing she did this 10 years ago and not today. With that said, arm yourself with information and then challenge that too. Now, this was a line that had the CCP blow up and make her persona non grata. Disney contacted the publication that removed this and had them censor the line, but it was too late because it was already archived. And so, the Eternals is now in hot water in China because of that.
Yeah. And it's, again, this is a here's Disney didn't understand what it was dealing with, right? And so it's a example of Hollywood mismanagement, because none of these people know or care about any of these dynamics or differences, because China has been seen as a source of huge, easy money. At least that was the illusion that Hollywood had bought into, the story that they had bought into in the cocktail party circuit, right? For the last decade. They didn't look at any of the internal dynamics of what is happening within the Chinese people, and they're not, because they don't care, right? They actually Hollywood loves dealing with an authoritarian government because they think that thing's gonna keep it all under control and make the people watch its stuff, right? But it's not able to keep it under control, and so it's interesting. I should add here, I have worked in China. I've worked in Beijing. When I worked on the television series Nikita, after I finished that, I was invited to Beijing by producers who were Chinese producers who had studied at USC and other film schools in America, were fluent in English, but were Chinese. They invited me to come and see if I could develop a Chinese version of the show with a female spy, right? And so I spent several months in China working with Chinese writers who did not speak English, and I actually had translators the whole time while I was running a writer's room in China. And I got to see the culture in Beijing, and I have studied Chinese history. I take martial arts, and I'm taking various Eastern martial arts right now, and I've studied Taoism as a religion and Chinese history. So I have great respect for Chinese culture. I experienced the communist / post-communist authoritarian world of China directly, and it's not a great place. It's a really bad place, and the people there are not happy. They're just trapped. And I experienced it directly. And so people in Hollywood didn't know or didn't care about these dynamics. And then they only started noticing when China started putting all these rules on. Okay, yeah, you have this huge market. We've got a billion people that watch your movies, but we're keeping all the money. And so it took a while for Hollywood to figure out that they were being screwed here financially, and that maybe they thought that over time they could pressure the Chinese government through, the idea being that, we'll just keep giving them great product and then they're going to cut us a better deal. They're not going to cut you a better deal. This is an authoritarian society. This is an authoritarian government. Their whole philosophy is take what you get, right? And don't complain about it. So that's how they're definitely going to deal with the West, who they have a lot of personal issues with the history of China and the West, right? And so there's a nationalist element to there. The last thing, they know the power they have. The last thing the Chinese government was going to do is going to give a piece to Hollywood. And Hollywood is slowly but surely realizing money's not there, and there's embarrassing things they can't hide anymore, such as concentration camps, such as genocide, and all these things that are embarrassing. So now Hollywood is trapped. The cocktail party circuit has talked itself into a trap.
Well, and I wonder if another part of this is, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Cameron, at least from my perception of the whole deal since we've been kind of digging into it, is more so like China's investment in Hollywood is the more important part. Not so much the money they make over there in the theater, but the fact that these companies are investing in the movies up front. And then not only that, it opens up avenues for, merchandising and other things on the other side of things. And then we also see like Disney, who's one of the ones who's the most embedded in this situation. What do they got? They got, theme parks and everything over there, which, of course, China's partnered in. So I think this goes beyond just, what any kind of money they're making, pennies on the dollar as far as like the selling tickets wise. Because yeah, sure, Fast and Furious did great over there this last weekend, but I highly doubt Universal saw much of that money. But what they did probably see was a huge investment up front from their end, and that's what I'm curious if that's where a lot of this comes from. Because I know we saw Paramount basically almost buckled under its own weight when they lost their Chinese investors.
That's the leverage that China has, is the leverage anybody has who's willing to buy into it, right? But they're beginning to recognize, even with that buying into it, doesn't mean that these people are going to give. The buying into creates this. The club is used to running. I'll talk about the club again. The multi-generational, multi-family club is used to being the people in charge. And so one of the dangers they've experienced is once you get foreign money from a very calculating government, right, with a nationalist agenda, that you start losing control and you start losing your status as the person calling the shots, right? And so that's also part of the pressures. So on one level, they need the money, right? You're absolutely right. All the ancillaries you're talking about, Tom, are real, right? On another level, it's messing with their dominance and their ability to control what they want to do, and it's creating embarrassments for them now. So that's where this conflict that we're talking about is coming from, exactly because of the points you're making and the response that I'm giving.
Yes, and with that, let us move on a little bit in the article, because it's talking a little bit about the self-censorship that Disney has to do here, because they have to censor themselves. And then the article says, but as with all cases of self-censorship, the evidence is most apparent in what's missing in the aggregate. During a decade-plus period in which China has risen to the status of hegemon in waiting, with its business interests and political influence extending to every corner of the world, the Hollywood studios have not created a single film, big or small, that depicts the country with a whiff of critique or even real-world substance. Critics, often academics, argue that China has cannily leveraged its market heft to co-opt Hollywood's global pop culture machine into effectively carrying the water for one of the country's most important lines of strategic global messaging. That China's rise as a global superpower is a benign or stabilizing phenomenon. To the suggestion that Hollywood isn't in the business of art with an agenda, critics can take their pick of dozens of films released in recent years offering direct critiques of the United States' own foreign policy and social justice failures. But again, rules are different when it comes to China. There they have to kowtow. And again, it also goes to what was stated here before, with how little China actually American film distributor gets to keep of the box office gross in China, because they go in and they essentially have to be co-owned. And nowhere is this worse than with Disney, where their parks are even co-owned, even majority owned by China. That's two of their 6 parks.
Yeah. So, and again, because they're majority owned, you've lost control of your own product, right? And that rankles people in the club. What we are beginning to see as well, and we're seeing it now. This is what I talked about at the beginning. There is something bigger happening than just Hollywood's internal contradictions that Tom and I are bantering about. There is a national and international awakening to what the Chinese Communist Party really is. The very fact that in the last few days in the United States, shockingly, we are having the mainstream media conversation suddenly turn to, well, maybe this virus might have come out of that lab after a year of telling us it's not possible and you're all crazy conspiracy theorists, is coming from the internal political pressures of the United States of realizing that we're getting played by a very dangerous force, right? And Hollywood, while it doesn't necessarily care about if the world becomes authoritarian, as long as they buy tickets, Hollywood is fine with that, right? But it's beginning to mess with their control of their product, and it's beginning to embarrass them. So that's the shift that's happening, of which Hollywood is part of.
And speaking of shift that Hollywood is part of, someone else who just joined us, another special guest, that's part of the shift of Hollywood, is Doomcock. Greetings, my liege.
Hello! Hello! Happy 100 broadcasts at this ungodly early.
It is very early, Overlord. It is very early. For me, especially East and West Coast. My God.
Doomcock, of course, you know Cameron.
Yes, of course, the great Kamran Pasha. How are you, Cameron?
I'm well, sir. I'm well, and I want to say I very much enjoyed your most recent update because I had predicted it. As Stephanie Jadasek, who's in the comments, will know, I have been saying for 4 years that George Lucas would take back control of Star Wars. I've been saying for 4 years. I said it to my business school class when I came back as an alumnus to speak 4 years ago, that George Lucas will retake control of Star Wars, and he will do it in a financial way. He'll reinvest in it. And I've been saying that for 4 years. And when I saw your video yesterday, Doomcock, I just started laughing because I was like, well, here we go. There we go. It just took the road ended where it was going to end.
But you are very wise. However, you have predicted it, but I was the one that broke the news. So
that's fair enough. That's fair enough.
And not only that, but I am my heart is beating very rapidly at the moment because I have gotten more information from another source, and another follow-up video is coming.
Wow.
But it appears that once again, hashtag Doomcock was right. And I think everyone that has been saying that I make these things up is going to have to suck my dick. Suck my dick. That's just the way it is. I'm calling it. I've always called it. The way my mom taught me to swear like a drunken sailor, and I try to control my mouth. But sometimes when you're this right, you have to tell people, blow me. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it. I'm not a dick. I'm a fairly balanced, humble man for a megalomaniacal supervillain. But I've taken so much shit from all these little nothings out there lying about my character and stuff. When something like this comes around, I'm going to rub it in their faces like dirty dogs that they are who have pooped on my carpet far too long. Anyway, isn't it exciting?
I love your villain vengeance. I love it.
Very visceral.
Yes, indeed. And
sorry, guys, it's early in the morning. My
great.
filters are not up. I've only barely had a cup of coffee, and then I got hopped up on this confirmation coming out. Which, there's a fog of war with these things. There's always a fog of war. And that's what, the detractors love to jump on. It's like, well, it hasn't come true yet. Well, because, it's been about, the end of Kathleen Kennedy's contract, and it's been about things in the far future, like the erasure of the sequel trilogy. And, that shit isn't going to come true next Tuesday, you idiot fucking attention deficit mother. It's just use your fucking heads, but never mind. Sorry. Like I said, you wanted Doomcock in the morning. This is Doomcock in the fucking morning.
No. Yeah. Well, what's funny is before you just stepped in, I don't know if you've seen the J.J. Abrams video that's making the rounds, but Einstein just realized, oh shit, we should have had a plan, which he knew this all along. I feel like this is something else that Cameron usually talks about and it's setting us up for something. Yeah. They're not going to sit there and publicly take, responsibility for something like Star Wars sucking if there's not going to be some major moves being made.
Yeah.
What do you mean? What JJ video?
He said, he was talking to Collider, and evidently he's like, yeah, we probably should have had a plan.
Yeah,
but that's not fair, because actually, I mean, look, give I think he's the cinematic antichrist, as I've said many times before. But give the satanic cinematic antichrist his due. He did have an outline for the whole trilogy, so there was a plan.
Exactly.
They just jettisoned it. So it's that you can't lay at it. For better or worse, you can't lay it at Jar Jar's feet that they didn't stick to his blueprint.
Yeah,
but Tom is right. JJ knows he had a plan. He knows they threw away his plan. The fact that he's saying this to Collider is part of a political narrative for the average person who says dumb things on Doomcock's comments, right? Who doesn't understand what's actually happening, saying, "Oh, maybe mishandle this," right? And it's getting people ready for something.
Much like the China business we were talking about just before you got here, is that, yeah, they're prepping people for the inevitable boom, basically, and something's going to come down. But I just got to say this real quick. Pixel Supreme, thank you so very much for the
thank you so much for 100 Swiss francs. Wow. Saying, what? Only just now realized this is the 100th episode. Congratulations and hail to Doomcock.
Yeah, so we had to pull out the stops. We brought out the big guy. That's right.
From the center of the earth, staggering groggily. It's like, so what am I doing?
I was telling you, Doomcock, this is, I don't know where the center of the earth is in this time zone for you, but for me on the Pacific time zone, I don't wake up at 9 a.m. for anything. Only for Midnight's Edge do I do it, and I'm still reeling from it.
There you go. Did you? I mean, did Midnight's Edge send you like little animated birds and chipmunks that like dressed you and fixed you, a nice breakfast and stuff? And no, just
get
for
up
me.
Beyond here. I have my Dracula mug with my tea to keep.
Yeah,
me
we
awake.
just got him a Dracula mug. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty awesome.
And I will get him a T-shirt with flying
and a lousy version of the home game.
We're designing a T-shirt with the phrase that I came up with on the show, which is the Lucasfilm Flying Monkeys, which is Pablo Hidalgo and his crew of buffoons who've been sitting there implementing a bad plan. So yeah.
Oh, well, not so fast on that T-shirt as old Pablo. You may have to erase him. Unfortunately,
funny. That's what I was saying. Either he's going to go first or she is. So that's the funny thing. Yeah.
Well, I've heard. I've got information on that, and I've specifically been asked by someone very, very high up that I respect not to say anything. So
fair
I'm not saying
enough.
Too late. No.
Hint, hint, wink, wink. But yeah, we're not gonna pump you anymore. But since we're on super chats, there's one I just can't bring up on screen. We got two other huge super chats as well.
Yes.
Douglas A. Burton says for $50, this is for Kamran Pasha. Just want to say your commentary is some of the most insightful, most substantive, and most eye-opening I've heard. So do you think that Hollywood is the canary in the mine for an irreconcilable divide between the US and China? And I want Doomcock's thoughts on this as well. But Kamran, the question was for you.
Well, I as I was saying just before our overlord joined us, I was saying that I'm thinking there is a cultural shift and a political shift in the United States that we've just started watching only a few days ago, where the narrative on the Wuhan lab changed in the mainstream media when it went from conspiracy theory to, yeah, maybe whatever, to we have to investigate this. And that's, it's fascinating to watch it happen within a few days. So something is happening on a geopolitical level, the forces of power inside the United States that are shifting. And Hollywood always goes with wherever it thinks the power is shifting to. So I think it's not a surprise that this Hollywood Reporter article has suddenly come out, because I think the entire power structure of the United States, which includes Washington, D.C. and Hollywood, Los Angeles, the two power structures of this United States are suddenly unifying in a new narrative on China. That's intentional. And I'd love to hear a Doomcock's perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the feeling that I get, honestly, is that, Art Bell used to talk about the quickening all the time. It's the quickening. Things are drawing to a head. And I don't know, it's almost dizzying the changes that are happening on so many different levels. I mean, if I was Ozymandias in Watchmen, which I kind of am, I'm just getting this feeling that we are really on the precipice of winning major fucking battles that we had no anticipation that things would change so quickly. And I think this is a symptom of that. I think we're seeing all sorts of symptoms. If George Lucas is really taking back Lucasfilm and this China thing is going to drive Disney back into the fold of the United States and its citizens, and maybe realizing, oh shit, well, I guess we're just going to have to start appealing to customers again. I mean, these are massive, major victories. You can't really exaggerate how important these are.
Yeah.
I would also like to add that if the price for that to happen is that Disney loses their parks in Shanghai and in Hong Kong, 2 of their 6 parks, that is a price that I am very willing for Disney to pay.
I'm willing to.
Me too. I feel good about it. I like this plan. I'm excited to be a part of it.
Yes, exactly.
I will just I will replay the image of me walking out of the Tron offices holding my cardboard box after I told the truth to the executives, right? As I watch it all come crashing down. So.
Yeah, exactly. And also, on that note, Peter Smigelski also said for another $50. Thank you so much. Mm-hmm. It's so crazy that Hollywood seems blind to their own history. Germany was like China in the 1930s. Hollywood went out of their way to try to be appeasing to the National Socialist Party, let's just call them that, so their movies would play in Germany. Now it's happening again, only with China.
Yeah. Well, Hollywood doesn't learn lessons because it's not forward-looking. It is purely about people looking at the moment, right? And that's what the entire industry is. What is the moment? And one of my challenges as someone who's works in the industry is that I can see the future to some degree. And I try to tell people, and that just labels you as a nut. But then it plays out, right? And so
right.
The culture has never been forward-looking. It's in this moment.
Absolutely. It's lonely at the top. It's a prophet is not without honor save in his own country, as the old phrase goes. So here we are, telling truth and just speaking our piece, and we get mocked for it until suddenly we're acclaimed for it when it comes to pass.
Well, I'm just, like I said, I since I follow you, Doomcock, and I follow Midnight Touch, I see the comments in both of these channels. A lot of naysayers and people who have no idea what's going on. Right, putting all these negative comments and insulting both of these channels, and I know from my own experience in Hollywood that both Doomcock and Andre here and Midnight's Edge team are tapped into what's really happening in the industry. They have real sources. I have some sources. My biggest source is I live it. I'm working.
Right.
I'm living it, right? And we've all been on this very similar page for the last year, and all of us have faced a lot of contempt and mockery in the comments of these videos, and yet time plays out, and we're watching it play out. So keep the mockery to a minimum, guys, until you can do this yourselves.
And I just want to say thank you to Kit Kat, who sent us a very generous 50-pound super sticker with a cheerleader cheering us on. I'm assuming for our 100th episode. Thank you for that.
Yes, thank you so much, Kit Kat. That's much appreciated. And Mr. Tickle Trunk.
Our own wrench. Thank you. You did not have to do this, Mr. Tickle Trunk, but thank you so very much.
Really appreciate it. Sending us $100 Canadian saying, I popped my head in, and the first words I hear are Doomcock yelling, gobble my member. Just gobble it. I'm dying. Also, happy 100. Wish I could be here as much as I want to. Hail Andre and Tom. Hail Kamran. Hail Doomcock. And hail chat. Hit that like button.
Yes, and I'm so glad to have these two gentlemen with us on this of all occasions, because you both have played big parts in a lot of the news we're talking about today, at least on our end of things. Because Cameron, you're probably one of our most prominent guests here on the morning show and on Midnight's Edge, and Doomcock, of course, we've known you since way back when now, and we're just so happy to have you here, and thank you so much for joining us this morning. But on this whole note with Hollywood and the industry and how things are rolling, do we think this is going to be something that's going to be a big switch right away, or is this something that's going to take a little while to kind of bring in motion between this and the whole Chinese thing, do you think? Or do you have a better question on that note?
Well, if I may rephrase it, just going back to what our own soothsayer Kamran Pasha has said before, when we see things happening in the trades, something has already happened.
Yeah.
Or a war is already being fought. This article at Doomcock, I don't know if you have seen it yet, but we were talking about this article from deal frenzy to decoupling. Is the China-Hollywood romance officially over? And I'm going to bring it back on screen here again.
I already did for you.
Oh yeah, there we go. And again here, as I said before, there you have the most powerful man in the world, and on his side is Biden, and on the other side is Iger. And this is an article that kind of has the underlining point: this China business isn't really working out. And I want both of your thoughts on this. But Kamran, what must have happened behind the scenes for something like this to come out? Something that pushes these three individuals so promptly.
Well, it's exactly the image that you see on the screen is what's happening behind the scenes, is the dynamic of these three individuals. Now, without getting too political, I don't think Mr. Biden is the one necessarily calling the shots in his administration, but the people that are calling the shots have clearly shifted to a new track in just a few days for their own political reasons. They've decided it is time to throw China under the bus for the events of the past year, right? Even though they protected China for the past year, the same group of people. I believe because literally, this is the cocktail party. Mr. Biden, Mr. Iger, this is the cocktail party that I keep referring to. This is the level of the cocktail party, right? And so within the cocktail party circuit, it's like, all right, guys, we have to shift narratives to preserve a major member of our cocktail party's power, right? Or at least image of power. And so we're going to move here. So suddenly it is just not a coincidence that the American political machine has suddenly started critiquing China. The media machine has started critiquing China on Wuhan and the events of the last year. And then the Hollywood Reporter does this massive, detailed article at the same time. These are all coordinated within
this is the longest article I've ever read from the Hollywood Reporter. Like, I'm amazed.
This is your new narrative. Remember, I said this on the channel.
Yes.
Trades are there to tell people like me what the official story is that we have to repeat in the writer's room. Because before, everyone was like, China, China, China. Now it's like, well, China's a bad guy. I mean, literally, they're telling us what to say. And that's why it's so detailed, because this is the official new chapter that is being written for us.
Doomcock, your thoughts on that?
I think that's probably true. I think that's a good way to look at this. And I never thought this China thing was going to work out. I mean, their values are so antithetically opposed to ours. And so trying to thread a needle between China and the United States and Western markets is a fool's errand, an absolute fool's errand. It was never going to really work. And now, Disney has, as they would inevitably do, because, China is not a tolerant, political system. Disney has crossed China. They have not, the only thing China would accept from Disney is total capitulation in terms of its themes and its marketing and everything. You can't half-ass market to China. You've got a whole-ass market to China. And if you do that, then you're alienating the West. So this was inevitable. This was certainly going to happen. It was just a matter of how much damage would be done to the United States market while they were pursuing this, snipe hunt overseas. And this is a good correction. Now, I again, if this impacts their parks, it's unfortunate. When you dance with the devil, sometimes you get stepped on with a cloven hoof, and sometimes you get impaled with a pointed tail. And I think they're getting both.
Well, and I want to redress some of the several people in the chat rightfully keep bringing up John Cena, the actor / wrestler, and all, who's
let's get to that.
himself. Yeah, in the last day or so, he put out this egregiously disgraceful.
I have it because he put it out in fluent Chinese because he has learned himself how to speak Mandarin. So he put the excuse out in Mandarin. I do not have the video for you right here, but I'm sure most of you in the chat may have seen it already. What I do have here is the exact literal translation of what John Cena said. And this is just to give the backdrop for those that might not have heard it. In promoting Fast and the Furious 9 or whatever number they've come to, I haven't seen a single one of them. I love the Norwegian remake, but never seen any of the original American movies. But anyway, he mentioned that Taiwan is one of the first countries in the world to see this, and this was a huge mistake because according to the Chinese, Taiwan isn't a country; it's a province of China. So he did not win any favors this way. Then he put out this groveling excuse or apology, and it was groveling. What he said, and I have the exact words, was, "I love and respect China and Chinese people. I am very, very sorry about my mistake. I apologize. I'm very sorry. You must understand that I really, really love, really respect China and the Chinese people." This has to be one of the most groveling apologies I have ever heard. And you know what they did? They rejected it. Wasn't good enough.
Wow. I mean, I think Nancy Sinatra called it when she said, "These boots are made for licking, and that's just what he'll do."
Doomcock is singing. The chat was asking for it, and it's come at last.
Oh, there you go. Well, that was kind of... Yeah, but yeah, I mean that is a sad little apology.
The update here, and it gets better. But Doomcock, do share your thoughts on this in the meantime, while I find the update on how it wasn't good enough.
Well, I just think that's cringy. I think what we've learned here is don't apologize. Don't apologize for this shit. It doesn't help. The people that you're apologizing to are not into forgiveness. They just want to virtue signal and condemn. And apologizing to China, forget it. I mean, that's just like apologizing to Russia.
Right here in Variety, F9 star John Cena angers fans in China for calling Taiwan a country, despite apology. So the apology wasn't good enough.
And this moron brought attention to it. He brought attention to it. Nobody knows what he said. One word, slip of the word, just move on. Right? And it's slip of the word. It is a country. In fact, it's a country, having worked in China and having met Taiwanese people who had come to work in China, it is the country China should have been, right? It is the nationalists should have won the Civil War, and it would have been a better country for everyone. And, it is... To me, Taiwan is real China, having worked in China, and the tragedy of what I saw, the one thing I will share with you that I asked, because I saw the people I was working with, their lives so deeply controlled. They had passes as to what day they were allowed to drive. Right. So half the week I would have to take a taxi to the offices in Beijing because they weren't allowed to come pick me up. Right. That's how controlling the society is. They weren't allowed to drive on that day. And so I asked the people once, "You're all not that happy here. I can tell no one's happy with this system. Why don't you guys change it or revolt?" They're like, "Well, Mao took away our guns. So we never had a shot." Right. And so this is not a society where they are happy with what they were given by history. Right. And the Taiwanese are the part of the Chinese people that escaped this madness.
No, it's true. And really what he's apologizing for is not anything to do with Taiwan. What he's apologizing for is not hewing to Chinese propaganda and totalitarian pronouncements. I mean, that's really what he's apologizing for. It's got nothing to do with Taiwan. It's like, you violated their official policy, and therefore their official lies and you have to basically now bend the knee, etc., and so on. And it's just kind of sad. It's like just ignore it, man. We're Americans. We don't need to know the geography of your fucking country.
Well,
It's not
actually,
just even a geography,
I can
it's more of a
dictate exactly
political
why
side.
he said to do this. But before that, we have someone else who also wants to chime in on that before we get into why he had to do what he did. And there's a reason. But until then, welcome, Lorena.
Hello, Andre, Kamran, Tom, and finally I am on a stream with the future leader of Earth, Doomcock.
Hail, how you
I'd
doing?
like to introduce you to one of our most loveliest members of Midnight's Edge team, Miss Lorena Creole.
Hello, Lorena. Good to meet you.
Hello, good to meet you as well, Doomcock.
And now I'm happy because we finally have some estrogen on the channel. I'm finally happy. Too much
While we have a
testosterone.
break for a moment, I just want to thank the Grand Wazoo also for the very generous super sticker. You guys have been so amazing, showing all the love for our 100th episode of Midnight's Edge in the Morning. Thank you for that.
Yes, and we're going to get through every single super chat that you've sent a little bit later on. But we have to stick with our guests now when we have them. But what I will say is that I agree with Soul 3A1, who says 1,800 watching and only 782 likes. Smash that like button. Yes, indeed.
Yes, please.
Smash the like for Lorena.
Please
for
do.
Doomcock,
And now,
and for
I before I switch gears a little bit here, I wanted to make sure there wasn't anything else you wanted to touch on here, Andre, before we moved on to the other big news this morning in Hollywood and how that may be affecting things. Was there anything else you wanted to touch on that before?
We weren't finished talking about John Cena.
Oh yes,
because
John Cena.
to get back on that track first, because Lorena, I'm sure that you also saw his video in Chinese where Cena groveled incredibly, asking for forgiveness for the audacity of saying that Taiwan was a country, and this, of course, was flat out rejected. Not good enough at all. Because what they say here in Variety is, despite all of Cena's veries and reallys, his plea doesn't appear to have cleared his name. Some fans have defended him, saying he's been interested in China for years, since he began to learn Mandarin long before he had much business in the country. Others say it's hard for foreigners to understand the country, but most of the top responses to his message, again, this is in Chinese social media, slammed his apology as too vague to be worth anything. Please say Taiwan is part of China in Chinese. Otherwise, we will not accept, said the top response, which received some 7,500 likes. Many called him two-faced, accusing him of saying one thing in Taiwan to Taiwanese fans and another in China. So how well do you think that groveling apology worked out? Lorena, since you just joined us, what's your thoughts on that whole thing?
I did see the hostage video, because that is exactly what it looked like. It looked like, Hans Gruber was probably behind the camera with the gun pointed at him while John Cena's like, I apologize, I'm sorry, for calling Taiwan a country. This is ridiculous. And all it is him kissing the backside of a certain party in China, that uses red as its banner color. I'm trying to code my language here. That's what it was. It wasn't about the Chinese people. It wasn't about any of that. It's about him keeping, Fast and the Furious, still getting that money from the box office, or attempting to, from China. But let me preface this with saying that I went to high school and college with kids whose parents fled Taiwan because they were scared to death of the Chinese. They left there, they came to the States, they changed their name, all of that. And I would hear for years just stories, just stories about it and how much they just loved having the freedom that they had in America, because they sure as hell were not having it over in China. And it's been going on, this whole thing where, like, if you acknowledge Taiwan as a country, it's like you have spit in the face of China. And the United States and China have, and I've never really totally understood this, but it seems like for years, the US has just been chasing China, giving them most favored nation status with respect to trade and all of that. And they always seem to be chasing, after China for their money. So this is yet again another entitled Hollywood actor kissing the boots of the Chinese, so he thinks his film can make more money. But you never capitulate to these people, and it's never going to be enough. I mean, it's not about the Chinese people. Forget that. They're under control. It's the CCP that he has to capitulate to. And bringing it back to Disney, and you guys probably already brought this up, Disney has 2 parks in China. Shanghai Disney and Hong Kong Disneyland. And part of them are owned in part by
the majority
CCP.
part. They're majority owned by the CCP. Disney has a stake in them. The majority is CCP, like every other non-Chinese business in China. But I would, again, there's something that I want your thoughts on, because it's very easy to say that he capitulated because it's a hostage video. I agree completely. It's a hostage video with him. Kamran, you're muted.
I'm sorry, I was reading.
There you go.
Yes. So, and I was saying he is a hostage. He is a hostage to his producers, right?
Exactly. That's the point I wanted to make.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is the timing couldn't have been worse for this clown. The timing could have been worse because, as we just talked about, the industry has just shifted in the past few days towards we're going to start distancing ourselves from China. This guy blew his wad at exactly the wrong moment. It's literally he's made a double fool of himself because his comedy is rejected by the Chinese Communist Party. And again, I say the CCP and not the Chinese people because I know the Chinese people. It's not them, right? The Chinese Communist Party. It's been rejected by them. At the same time, the Hollywood has just stated we're getting off the boat. This guy has just put himself on an island alone.
Speaking of blowing his load, I feel the need to remind everybody that this is the idiot who put his dick in Crazy when making that movie Trainwreck. And supposedly didn't understand the sex scene aspect of it and actually had sex with Amy Schumer.
He didn't know he was having sex with her? He didn't realize that was what was happening?
It was a sex scene, but I guess they actually had sex, according to her. Because the joke is that he didn't understand how a sex scene worked, but yeah, no,
okay,
I'm
just going to stay
took advantage of the situation.
Wow. Oh,
okay.
Well, I don't know who took more advantage in that situation, but
I'm going to say that she probably did.
Yeah,
well, I don't understand.
I got this handsome dude all over, whatever.
I've never understood. Lena Dunham knows how to talk. She's got a rather big mouth, and you'd think that, if somebody didn't understand the mechanics of the thing and just was sliding away there, she'd have said time out. But I don't know. Maybe that's method acting. Yeah. Maybe it's method acting.
Amy Schumer is an example we talked about earlier. It's the club. Why is she promoted by this industry?
Because my vagina.
Yeah, well, no, her cousin is a senator, Chuck Schumer, right?
Exactly. That's why.
Really? That explains
That's why.
Yeah.
No, she's a Chuck Schumer, so she's La Familia DNA.
Yeah. And Lena Dunham is from an affluent sort of New York artsy-fartsy family that's connected in Hollywood. These people didn't get their success because of their talent. They were part of a club, and they're like, all right, let's give my cousin something, right? And make my cousin really famous, even though the audience doesn't necessarily even want it.
Wow.
Yeah, no, but really, that's why she's a celebrity. That's why doors are open for her, despite her stealing jokes and everything. So those that didn't know already, now you know.
That's funny. In my mind, I always think of Lena Dunham and Amy Schumer as one and the same. So I think I got confused there for a second. But
same church.
Yeah, same church.
I think is the third head. And then if you look behind there, there's another head somewhere there whatever. We'll get into that some other time. But no,
let's go back
good
to
morning,
Mr. Cena,
Doomcock, by the way.
topic.
I'm sure you wanted all these wonderful visuals to wake up to.
Oh yeah. Well, it's just part of it's either that or lizard people. So what the fuck? It doesn't matter.
People are a bit worried about Harvey though, since you're away from the center of the earth. Who's paying attention?
Oh, I'm not. No, I'm down here. I'm down.
Yeah,
here.
no, they got Wi-Fi in the center.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
The leash doesn't sleep too far away from Harvey's button, so yeah, don't worry about that.
Yeah, happy 100, guys. I'm here. I'm in the containment field.
Hey, Harvey.
That's right. Please stay there for at least
Are you
100 more episodes.
Are you making much wampum lately?
Plenty wampum, savvy. Holy shit. Got a ton of wampum. I actually Douglas Oberg printed up wampum, actual wampum for me, and I've got like 50 bazillion of them now. So I'm very excited.
Just know what to do with it. That'd be exciting, huh?
Well, I'm going to try to buy someone to push a button, and maybe some chick, have her dress up in a French maid outfit and come and push the button. I mean, might as well do it in style. I'm a toxic eldritch god. What can I say?
Well, as soon as your wampum's worth anything on this side, I'm sure you're going to get that taken.
What do you mean? It's worth tons. Tons. Do you have any wampum?
Not with my face on it. No.
Well, there you go.
Andrew Jackson kind of took care of that, unfortunately.
It's kind of like Bitcoin, only you can hold the damn thing.
Well, Legeza says Harvey did nothing wrong yet. I think is the operative word.
Well, I'm trying.
Exactly.
I'm doing the best I
we
can.
don't want to let him out. So, but I think that's just what Hollywood could use right now. But yeah, Andre, any more about this China Cena thing? Because
the final thing that I wanted to say there is that obviously I don't think it was the CCP that went to him directly. I think they went to his agent, and his agent had a major freak out because not only is F9 on the line, it's the Suicide Squad later this year, and it's the spin-off series from the Suicide Squad. Like, I forget the name of his character, but John Cena's character, the one with the toilet on the head, he's getting his own HBO Max spin-off series, and obviously they want to, and Warner Media, they have like this deal with the Chinese distributor because no American streaming service is welcome on China. So in China, so all content has to be sold, and both the Suicide Squad and this John Cena series have been pre-sold. But if the CCP wants to walk out of that deal, this is very good impetus for it. So obviously his agent would be like on the line and say, okay, we're going to do a hostage video because you are a hostage. Because you're going to do this, we're going to drop you from everything.
And this is, by the way, this is exact opposite of what happened with our friend Gina Carano. Gina Carano was dropped by her agency because she refused to do the hostage video. Right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And she said, I was at that agency once. I was at UTA. I had a good experience there. And I actually know the people that were her agents. So I won't make any personal comments. But I will say this, how Gina reacted to it is very different than how Mr. Cena reacted to it. And there were consequences. Gina's no longer with that agency.
Yeah,
that's very true.
Exactly.
Yep.
That's why she was dropped by the agency, and I guarantee you, he heard exactly the same thing. You are going to do this, or we will fucking destroy you.
He probably
exactly the same deal that Gina got. But the difference is that I think Gina Carano has a bigger fan base that she can fall back on, whereas John Cena, he's been playing the game, and in so doing, I don't know that he has
done it. I watched some of his commercials. He was doing all kinds of, over the past year, he was doing all kinds of really woke commercials and ads. And I was like, man, this guy's just reading a script. He doesn't look like he believes anything. He's just reading the script because that's going to advance him, right? He never struck me as a man of any integrity, right? And whereas Gina does. Gina struck me as a woman of tremendous integrity, more integrity than most people I've ever met in this industry.
And I don't even know who the guy is, honestly. I mean, I don't know what he's been in other than commercials.
Oh, John Cena, wrestler, some other B movies.
He was great in Bumblebee. He was like the best part, one of the best parts in that
movie. I haven't seen that.
I'd had enough of Transformer. Every damn Transformer movie put me to sleep in the theater, I swear to God. Every single one that I saw. I missed a chunk.
Bumblebee is worth watching. It's a good
movie. That's worth
Bumblebee is really good. I recommend it.
Okay, because after the last Transformers movie, I was like, I'm done with Michael Bay. I can't.
It's actually very heartfelt. It's a very
second-rate wrestler and a third-rate actor. Let's be real here.
Pretty much.
Michael Bay had nothing to do with Bumblebee.
And he looks Okay.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
like-
I just didn't know who I just knew this guy's around, but I don't know what he's done, and
He's
I
not
don't know
the
why
Rock.
I should
Okay,
care.
let's be
Yeah,
clear.
yeah, he's not the Rock.
That's the
Oh God,
He's not
like,
even the Pebble.
He's
Exactly.
exactly. He's like 99-cent store.
He's been downgraded. He's been downgraded after this hostage video. He used to be John Cena, and now he's John Dina. Maybe John Efta. I don't know.
Ouch. But we only got Cameron and
I got
Doomcock for
another
a
10
limited
minutes or
time.
so because I gotta get.
Yeah.
Both of you
wanna
two, we
jump
only
on the
got for
last
about 10
topic.
minutes, but I really got to get your reaction to this because this just, I mean, this is something we've been knowing is going to happen, but now it's been closed. James Bond, meet Jeff Bezos. Amazon makes $8.45 billion deal for MGM. So yeah, Amazon has bought MGM, or at least it's in the final stages of happening. I really want to get Doomcock and Cameron's reaction to this.
Well, I think they bought it at just the wrong time. If they want to not have this go down the toilet, they better like scuttle or substantially revise No Time to Die. I'm sorry, you picked the wrong time to go ahead and buy James Bond when it's about to get dashed on the rocks of wokeness. Holy shit, this thing has had a history of just being horrific. And I think there's been a lot of reshoots. I hope they did reshoots to tone down the wokeness and give James Bond back his balls. But I swear to God, they are sitting on a bomb, a huge bomb that is going to go off. And I'm going to be the guy that lights the fucking fuse because boy, oh boy, oh boy, if they screw with my James Bond, I'm going to make their lives a living hell. So I just hope that Amazon looks at it and goes, yikes, and spends that little bit of extra money, which is a drop in the bucket compared to $8.45 billion to fix that shit before it destroys James Bond.
Well, I don't know if you've kept up with our reporting on that, but yeah, there's been some reshoots involved, but I don't know how much it is to fix anything that's woke.
Exactly.
But no, I mean, as far as the Bond franchise goes, MGM only has distribution on it. So like they are, a big player in that game. What this does though is actually save MGM from going into obscurity. Yeah. Like, cause Bond was going to kill that company. Let's be real. That movie was never going to make its money back. They spent way too much money on it. Every month it hasn't been released, it's gaining interest. And MGM's not any of the studios that they have money to just be sitting on a movie like this. And this is all they got. They've got nothing else on their table. And everything else they've tried to do in the last 5-10 years has gone nowhere. Their Child's Play reboot, dead on arrival. Death Wish, dead on arrival. They only got to distribute, Bill and Ted. So again, the only deals they've had that have made any money have been shit that they distributed, really, and that's it. RoboCop, they fucked up too. They couldn't get that off the ground. So everything they've done has been just... But I think the winners in this is going to be Amazon for two reasons. They get to inject themselves with a shit ton of movies. They get a shit ton of television, because what MGM does have is a huge television library, and this also puts Amazon on the theatrical release stage, where they weren't before. And Cameron, looks like you got a few things to say about this.
Yeah, and in fact, you hit all the issues. This is a total Amazon power play, and it's a smart play for Amazon, right? If you look at their press release that I saw on Deadline.com, their press release emphasizes the MGM's library. So this is a play for their Amazon Plus, the Amazon Prime service, right? Which is, they're going to use this to go into that library of movies and television shows that goes back decades in order to create, reboots, remakes, sequels, blah, blah, blah. They're literally just taking a library, and then they'll try to get some prestige out of something like Bond. I've also heard the rumors of the reshoots. Well, we know there's reshoots. They've announced there's reshoots. Yeah. I mean, I would love to believe that some of that was fixing woke. I mean, I've heard rumors that people saw early cuts of it. Audience reactions to early cuts of it last year were pretty bad because it wasn't Bond, because it was an emasculated Bond. And I've said, like Doomcock, I've said this, one of my other prophecies, I said this a couple of years ago, that woke Bond would be the end of woke. It's too far. It's the step that's too far, and if that is what the final product is, it will be the end of woke as a cultural phenomenon, right? And I've always said this, and I'll say this now. Maybe one day, God willing, I'll be in a position to make a Bond movie. I think what they need to do now is they need to just go back to the 60s. I think the next Bond should be a period piece where they go back and they just restart it, Spectre in 1960 Cold War, and just start all over, because that gets them out of this woke trap that some people feel they have to answer to cultural idiots on Twitter, right? If they're 1960, you can't be talking too much about gender identity because it wasn't part of the conversation, right? You can just go back to the way the world was, sort of how Mad Men was able to show everybody smoking and doing all the stuff that's socially unacceptable today, especially in sexual dynamics. Just go back to the 60s and then you're free of this pressure on you.
I would love to do that. In fact, if you ever get a hold of the Bond franchise, I'd love to write the script. You
write it, I direct it, and Hollywood is like, these two, what the hell just happened?
Well, that's all of a sudden it turned out great. Because I've always said, one of my obsessions is I keep shouting this from the highest mountaintop is that the 60s is such a wonderful and fertile time to make things. Yeah. And I mean, look at X-Men First Class, one of my favorite X-Men movies of all time. But what they really ought to do is make another subset of the Marvel Universe set squarely in the 60s with all the original costumes, make it fun, make it cool, make it Kirby, and none of the adult themes, none of the darkness, just good, rollicking, fun movies where it's all interconnected, just like Stan Lee's universe. I think that thing would just print money. Old people would go, young people would go. It would be like the next Star Wars, but nobody is listening to me. What do I know? But I'm telling you, it would be huge.
And every time Hollywood does the 50 to 60s, like I said, Mad Men, now they have this show, For All Mankind, right? Which is what would happen if America sent a woman to the moon, right? I mean, these are all period pieces in that time, because the 60s is really this transformative moment of human history, right? And that's exactly where so much we reveal about our cultures. Have you guys seen the movie First Man? That's the look at Neil Armstrong's life.
I haven't got a chance to watch it.
I love that movie. I saw it 5 times, including in IMAX. And it's because, aside from the fact the performances are great and the story arc of Neil Armstrong's journey, you learn so much about his personal tragedy that he took with him to the moon. I didn't know any of it. It's the 60s cultural setting. They don't shy away from the fact that many people were opposed to the moon landing at a time when there was all this social chaos in the United States and racial chaos and the Vietnam War. People are like, is this what we should be spending money on? They don't shy from it. And you see the 60s for what they are. And it's the 60s backdrop that makes that movie work so well.
Yeah.
Well, I heard that they're making a new version of that, a woke version of that. It's called The First Woman. And it'll be that basically the pitch is that, Neil Armstrong always secretly had a tragedy. He felt like a woman. And when he went to the moon, it was actually the first woman that set foot on the moon, because Neil always, and he wore panties just like Ed Wood did in the Battle of Iwo Jima or whatever.
That's why they faked the footage. That's why we weren't allowed to see the real footage.
Yeah.
That's right, because he had boobs.
Yeah. I have to say about First Man, to anyone that hasn't seen it, it's one of the greatest movies ever made.
Absolutely.
And one of my single greatest regrets in terms of cinema was that I didn't go see First Man in cinema. That will forever be a regret. Kamran, you said you saw it in IMAX. I envy you seeing the glorious Saturn V launch in IMAX.
You know what? I really want to see that. And the reason why is one of the biggest dreams that I had come true was when I worked as a research assistant out at the Kennedy Space Center.
Oh, nice.
And I got to see, the old headquarters, where they had the Saturn V rockets. I mean, they were like taking them over to the museum, but to see how like huge they were, the old Apollo modules, just to see the kind of technology that they had to work with at the time, and they actually made it work. The 60s with the space program and all that is like legendary to engineers like me. It's like, as a kid, it's like that's what we would look at and that's what we would see. That time period it's like magic. It's like magic to us.
For you especially, then this movie would be powerful because one of the genius of what Damien Chazelle did in this movie is he literally shows that they're basically flying in a bucket of bolts. I mean, his cinematography focuses on how primitive and how barely functional any of this stuff was and how dangerous it was for them to do this. And the moon landing itself is one of the most heart-wrenching, terrifying moments because he captures what it felt like, and literally they were about to crash.
Of all time in that scene.
Like, we gotta abort, we're gonna crash. And Armstrong's like, no, I'm gonna land this fucking thing. I'm gonna land. And Armstrong's like, you're fucking out of your mind.
Oh man,
seeing that and watching it tick down to zero fuel as they're landing, you know how it's gonna end, and watching the fucking crater coming at them that they're gonna crash into. All of that is history, and we never knew it.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I just to drag, but see First Man, buy it in 4K. It's one of the greatest movies ever made. And the Saturn V, you know what? I just have to say also about engineering, what I find so frustrating is that everything that we're doing, that Elon Musk is doing, screw NASA. I mean, they're way behind.
Oh, yeah.
Everything we're trying to do is basically trying to recreate the Saturn V that Werner von Braun perfected in the 60s. And we can't do it.
Because they threw the plans away. They threw the plans away. We don't have the original plans.
One of the things that blew my mind about when I started working at the Kennedy Space Center was how antiquated the technology was. The only thing that it was missing was like a shag rug and a lava lamp. When you look at the technology that was in the space shuttle,
it looks like Doctor Who from the 60s.
It does.
It's the TARDIS from the 60s.
I just said, and you're happy with this. And I'm like, well, it's the kind that we can control and we're pretty risk averse. I'm just like, oh my God, we are so going to freaking get left behind. Now look at Elon Musk. He's just like getting it done.
Yeah,
Michael
and he's basically just reinventing the Saturn V.
Yes.
He's reinventing it from scratch. He's reinventing what Werner von Braun did in the 60s.
Yep.
Yes.
And Michael Saney says First Man was great. Saw that at the cinema and have it on Blu-ray. Watched it 4 times. Excellent. Yeah, I got it on 4K. I should move it up my list. But
yeah,
I know we're going to lose
that.
I know we're going to lose Kamran and Doomcock here shortly. But I want to thank you guys so much for coming in to our 100th morning show. I know Doomcock, this is something we've tried to make happen, and we got to have you back for almost, well, as much as we can proper for more than just an hour sometime, and just you alone. So we got to do that real soon. But again, thank you for coming in today, and you as well, Kamran. It's always a pleasure to get to talk to you guys.
Well,
thank you. I appreciate it.
We did have a couple of super chats. I don't know if you guys had 1 or 2 more minutes to hang in there.
Sure.
But I don't know if there's any questions per se.
Actually, yeah. Thanks for reminding me. There's a question for Kamran, and I think it's going to be interesting for everyone. 2 in a row, actually. Both John Apocalypse and Alex Asara wondered the same thing. John says, "Hey Kamran, why does Hollywood hate gingers?" And Alex Asara says, "Hello Kamran, do you know why Hollywood hates gingers so much? This includes people of color gingers too, because I hope Karen Gillan plays Mara Jade." So, what do they have against gingers? You can say the same thing for Red Sonja. And keep in mind, when it's about representation, gingers, like white gingers, are, if not the, then one of the absolute smallest minorities on the face of the earth. They may even be extinct in a century.
Well, and it's interesting because one of the greatest gingers of my generation just passed away, Tawny Kitaen, right? Who was the great model actress who made the White Snake videos come alive and brought me to life as a teenager. And she passed away, God rest her soul. But that's an example. Gingers used to be a major part of our culture. And it is actually true that there seems to be some actual bigotry towards them. And it's not just a joke. I think it's real. And I actually think it's because gingers are perceived as the white of the white, even more than white blondes. Something about it, I don't know why, culturally in Hollywood, they're perceived as, that's really white. And at a time when they want to de-whiteify the image of Hollywood, even though they're all white internally, that seems to be an actual political choice about casting. It really is a racist political choice. I believe that.
Yeah, I believe it too. I think that redheads are the whitest of the white. It's just the whitest of the white, and there's a huge anti white people racist backlash against us, and this is a way to basically slam the door shut on white people symbolically. There is no more hated element than this extremely white element of the race, and of course the sad thing is that they are the biggest minority around, and yet they are being systematically eradicated from Hollywood, systematically discriminated against. And so basically the woke strategy is enforce diversity with hate. And I think that is they're so stupid. They really are. They're such hypocrites. They're such creeps. And you cannot.
Jealousy.
It's like Captain Kirk said in the Omega Glory, where he says, "These words and the words that follow are not written for the Combs or the Yangs, but for everyone. They must apply to everyone, or they mean nothing. Do you understand?" And it's the thing. If any group ever is held out as acceptable to be discriminated against, acceptable to hate, acceptable to mock, acceptable to be excluded, then all groups are at risk. You are just preserving a little seed of racism that will sprout into another bush that will then come around to more discrimination, more division, more hatred. You're just passing the baton and the relay race of racism. You're a bunch of phonies, and you're not going to solve anything. In fact, you're just perpetuating it and turning the clock back on decades of serious progress. Are things perfect? Hell no. But things are moving, always advancing. The trajectory of history bends towards justice. And, for God's sakes, anybody that says, "Oh, it's just as bad as it was in the 40s or 50s" is completely out of their fucking minds. Out of their fucking minds. And you know what?
But they're trying to get us back to that.
They're trying to get us back to that in a backdoor way. These people are actually probably wearing hoods. These people are maybe using reverse psychology in order to divide, and exacerbate racial tension.
One of the hardest conversations I had was on a TV show that I worked on. I won't name the show, but one of the TV shows I worked on where several of the minorities, black assistants, were treated very poorly. One was framed for something she didn't do by a white woman who was lorded around the office, and that woman had done something wrong. She framed the black assistant for it and got her fired. I got the black assistant a new job, and I went and I confronted the white executive producer, and I said, because they're all very woke on the show, I said, look, we need to have a conversation about how the minorities on the show are being treated. And he got incredibly uncomfortable, and I finally got to a place. I said, look, we are mistreating black people, and let's be honest here. We will only hire black people that serve a political purpose on the show, and the black men have to be weak and effeminate. I even said that. I said, you won't hire a confident black man. You wouldn't hire a Malcolm X type, right? I said that to his face. I said, you're only going to hire somebody that acts like Urkel, because that's going to make you feel unthreatened, right? Yeah. You don't want a confident black man with a deep voice in this office. Yeah. I wasn't asked back to the show, but I needed to say it. I needed to say it because I was so shocked what was happening around me.
It's very true. And Dash D's Jessica Rabbit, why Roger, I never understood. She says why. He makes me laugh.
Makes me laugh.
And welcome, Polly. Somebody who makes me laugh and smile. Welcome. You're coming in as we're losing two of our other guests.
Yeah, but, and gentlemen, I do need to step down. So thank you, everyone. And, Lorena, always lovely to see you. And Midnight Sage, congratulations for this episode. And to Doomcock, I'm very excited to see your follow-up videos. I'm very happy to see that my prediction turned out to be your new scoop. And it's wonderful that you will continue to scoop things. And I'm very sad that the moment I'm leaving, my good friend Paulie, who's the only person of this entire panel that I've actually been to his home and met his lovely partner, right, is coming on just as I'm leaving. So hello, Paulie, and goodbye, Paulie.
Hello, goodbye. Hello, I must be going. Cameron, it's been a wonderful joy talking to you as always. It's a delight. Lorena, nice to meet you. Paulie, hello. Never talked to you, but hey there, man.
Doomcock, Paulie Doomcock, another member of our crew.
Paulie's wonderful, and he's got the most incredible partner. She's really quite amazing.
Romy's awesome.
How awesome.
Iron Man says hello, Doomcock.
Thank
Doomcock,
you. Hail the Mexican Iron Man.
Doomcock, I have a super chat for you before you go. Kamran, always a pleasure. and I'll reach out to you because we have to do some more on this China article. So I'll get back to you on that.
And I would like to do
so,
another stream with you as well, Cameron, at some point.
Absolutely. I'm always glad to talk about Hollywood and also our personal interest in UFOs, because now we're seeing it's accelerating in the national discourse in an amazing way. And so I'd love to talk about where we are and why that's happening.
Absolutely.
I'll tag along for that.
All right, sounds good. We'll make it happen.
Bye, guys.
But Andre, go ahead. What did you want me to?
Yes, and the super chat for Doomcock is from, let's see, Deborah Young says, Loki, congratulations on number 100, and Doomcock, I defended you to the death and walked through hell in a gasoline suit, and I love EBN Network. All hail.
Hail. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's nice to know that others are, standing in the way of these marauders trying to take me down. Of course, you have to get through all the other levels to get to the boss, and it's just
that's right.
Exactly.
It's an absolute pleasure, Doomcock. And if I can just say one thing about in your reference to gingers. Hollywood is so completely, they're a bunch of segregationalists. They love dividing us in every pocket, to where even if they give those ginger roles to Latinos or African Americans, they're always kind of just, the fad of the day, man. Don't fall for it. Just like what Doomcock's saying, man. Don't fall for it. Write new original legends, put everyone into the mix. But yeah.
You're right, Paulie. I mean, it's condescending. It really is. It's patronizing and condescending that all they're doing when they give they cast a black person as Superman, or they change Captain America to a person of color, or they turn Iron Man into a woman. It's just basically crumbs from the table. It really is. They should be making new roles for people of color and gay folks and everybody, and get behind it, back it. If there's an audience there, they will find it. It will be their Star Wars, and you can stop dividing people by trying to take away from one group to give to another. Give to everybody.
Well, Doomcock, two things. Weren't we always there? People of color, gay people in Star Trek, what's the Star Trek character I'm thinking that you could say was non-binary from the 90s?
Oh, that would be on Next Generation.
You get my point. And it's interwoven into the fabric of who we are. Science fiction, drama, action. It's everything's so upside down right now. I got invited, and I always go where I'm invited, and it was a Latino, LGBTQ panel, and God bless them, talented people, but everything was about, first, the pronouns, where you're from, your badges, then the last thing, oh yeah, I write all these stories. I'm like, that should be first, guys. But I didn't want to start anything, right? I'm just.
Lorena, do you have 2 more minutes?
Yes, I do.
So anyways,
okay, good. Because
now.
On that note, actually, recently today we got the rest of the Sandman cast announcements from Netflix. And there is much gender bending and all of that, including gender bent John Constantine. So yay, good going with that.
Not to mention that the announcement actually contains. I'm not going to spoil it. In case
no. Well, we'll put it up here because I have it right here.
You got it. All right.
I got it. Just give me 1 second to share it because no, I don't have the best image of it. But basically, what they say. Well, if you can bring it up, Tom, that would be good, so that you can see the madness if you have it there.
It's gonna make me mad because I'm a big fan.
It is. Don't just you wait and see.
I mean, I've got all of them in hardback. I love Sandman. Gaiman's run on Sandman was fantastic.
It wouldn't be a Doomcock stream if you didn't get mad. Come on now.
Yeah.
Well, it's early in the morning, but
Yeah, and while
Right.
we wait, before you have to leave, I have two more super chats for you, Doomcock. Grand Wasu 42 said for 10 euros, "Hail my leash. Finally, we have you here. Stay on target and ignore the others. People have no patience anymore. Everything plays out as Kamran and you have predicted." And KitKat says, "Doomcock broke the news. Hashtag Doomcock was right. Hail."
Hail, thank you both for that. Absolutely, thank you both for that. And Polly, I just want to say to your point before we get onto this, that you know, Star Trek, for example, the greatest genius in the history of the Federation was you know, Dr. Richard Daystrom, who was a black man. So Budding Boom right back there. And the greatest genius that created Skynet was also a black man, Dr. Dyson.
Yes.
So, you know, I mean, we have had, you know, positive steps, positive role models all along the way. And you don't need to, I mean, hitting it over the head like this is actually reversing, you know, there's no subtlety, there's no art to it. That's what Roddenberry and folks like him did, is that, you know, they don't tell you that you've got to be this, you got to be that. No, they show it. They show characters living that truth, and it's a beautiful truth, and that advances the cause far more than lectures.
And I would have to agree, Doomcock, because it's not about, if you have to harp on what someone looks like, that really doesn't give your story very much merit, because the beauty of what Star Trek would do is that they would tell you through the storytelling. They weren't banging you over the head with this person is black, this person is white, this person is white. They didn't do that. And to actually bring it to another level, that whole thing with race swapping, I frankly find that to be sloppy seconds, because it tells me that you're too lazy to do the work to create an original character, and a character that people can relate to based on the strength of that character, not just, okay, we're going to race swap them and then, you know, make them relatable. That doesn't work. And frankly, it's extremely insulting.
Well, when the character's
Speaking
race
of
swap,
which-
but not necessarily the actor. So I'd have to disagree with you on there.
I'm sorry,
When it's
what? I didn't miss.
When it's the character that's race swapped, not necessarily the actor. So if the actor's race, like, you know, it's just the best actor who happens to be black or Latino.
Oh no,
but,
that's
right.
yeah. I mean by the
You know,
actual
okay.
the character. Yeah, we're in sync there, because
we
had
in sync?
this
All right,
discussion.
girl.
We had this discussion.
This is hard.
Before you have to
bit of-
leave, here we have
They can
the
shove all those
announcement.
fucking pronouns.
Doomcock,
They can-
yeah.
With
Look at that.
pronouns in the cast announcement.
Here it
of
is
all
in its
the
HD
actors.
glory. You have the Sandman cast with their pronouns, Doomcock, as you see here.
Yeah, that is just absolutely. It looks like basically a bunch of women, and
Especially Patton Oswalt.
yes, and this is just sad.
he?
This is just fucking sad.
The lower
This is
left corner.
Johanna Constantine, and it's gonna be fucking. Oh my god,
I'm not
the
interested.
impossible girl, Clara Oswald. It's just like the worst. The reason I stopped watching Doctor Who was because of her horrible character, because that she became like just the focus of the show and belittled the Doctor, and now I have to watch her fucking ass taking over and redoing John Constantine. Fuck you. This is awful. This is dead on fucking arrival. Holy shit.
Can I
can
just
hear
ask,
that in
what
your
is
voice,
this?
man.
Is this a Vegas show or is this a real TV show?
No, this
This is
a
fucking
this is
Sandman on
actual
ice.
Sandman.
It
The
looks like a
Netflix
Vegas
Sandman
show.
adaptation.
This is a fucking TV show.
But
Yeah.
it looks like Sandman on ice, but no, this is the high-end Netflix Sandman.
This is gonna
I
be
can't,
awful.
I can't believe the audio book had a better cast, but it did.
As
Oh
much as
my-
I
Wow.
love Doomcock's Rage, I wish this wasn't the case, Nuanced Observer, because yeah, this is just bad.
Who the hell's playing Morpheus?
Oh, that's not here because this is like cast announcements round 2. It was. Let's see if we can find it here.
Let's see if I can
outside.
find the other one. Yeah.
Yeah, because again, this is casting round number 2.
Oh God.
It was someone I've never heard about before. It's not on Audible where you actually had a really good actor that was perfect. Same with Constantine, was perfect in the audio version.
Mm-hmm.
But not so much in.
It doesn't matter. This thing's dead on
I was
arrival
saying,
anyway.
for some reason, this is the only picture. I
Tom
can see online.
Sturridge is playing Dream. And so then you have Gwendolyn Christie of Game of Thrones fame. She's the gender-bent Lucifer.
I'm sorry.
Okay, well, it's dead.
I don't.
I don't want
know.
a gender-bent Lucifer. Fuck that. So yeah.
I'm not interested in this. I don't know anything about the Sandman, but just looking at the casting, I'm not interested.
Not interested.
So yeah.
Way to kill a franchise
yeah.
before you even start.
Oh wow!
I honestly thought this was like an off-Broadway regional play or something. Like the way, like just the boxes and the graphics aren't really that great. This is like, you know, these are out of work actors except for Patton Oswalt that are going to star in a play.
It's like your standard headshot.
Yeah.
Your audition headshot. When you
So there we have Tom Sturridge as Dream and Gwendolyn Christie as Lucifer, and yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. Well.
Hard pass.
Again, thank you for your extra time, Doomcock. Sorry for this bad news.
No, that's all right, man. But that makes me sick. I mean, really, it's whatever.
No, but don't you worry, because we still have the other Constantine. You know, J.J. Abrams, 25% different Southeast Asian Constantine.
Southeast Asian, yeah.
Push the button. Push it now.
Uh-oh.
Harvey.
I'm being tempted. I'm being tempted.
Don't you do it, Harvey.
God almighty. This is so fucking
I
awful.
hope you've got
This is
somebody
the
else
studio? Who's doing this?
Netflix
is
okay.
releasing it. I don't know who's actually producing it.
It's a Netflix original production.
It says that, but that depends on who the production team
Netflix
is
just woke as fuck. I mean, they've got that thing, the Sherlock Holmes perversion, right? The Irregulars, isn't that
Enola
Netflix?
Holmes or whatever it was called?
Yeah, Enola. Well, that too.
Holmes.
They've got Enola Holmes, where it's like all of Sherlock Holmes, crimes were solved by his smarter sister, and then they've also got a thing called the Irregulars, where it's a young team of racially diverse youth solving the crimes for Sherlock as he takes credit for it, exploiting their labor and their genius. Yeah,
I mean, Netflix is so all over the place, man. And like it's like 80% of what you said, Doomcock, and then there's like maybe 20% of like the Cobra Kais.
Well, the difference is, and that's what I was trying to get at, is Netflix just buys a lot of their shit. They don't actually in-house produce anything.
right.
Well,
Like,
my
it's all
point is that
production
like,
companies and shit, that make it.
and my point is that they don't know who they are as their identity as a channel, like Discovery Plus does, Disney Plus does, for better or for worse. They're just throwing shit all up on the wall, see what sticks or what's a success. But 80%, I mean, well, probably even more, because there's very little where it's not politics, like a Cobra Kai or some of the Spanish stuff. Anyways,
and hopefully they don't pressure Cobra Kai. But with that, I know Lorena has to leave us as well, as Doomcock
I gotta go.
been more than generous with his time. Thank you again, both of you. And
Hail
Doomcock, we got to do something again real soon.
We will, you guys.
I do hop in every Friday with Doomcock, usually on his Friday Night Frolic, so check that out.
Okay.
We do some trivia.
Yes, we do. We do trivia and bad jokes. So it's a lot of fun.
Yes, dad jokes.
Doomcock, do you sing any songs in Spanish, sir?
I wish I did. I really don't know a lot, other than, Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, prospero años y felicidad.
Let's make it happen.
I like that.
Let's learn some songs and let's do a Doomcock Latino slant.
We should do that.
Nice.
That would be a lot of fun. Maybe get Mexican Iron Man on there and just
get everyone here.
That'd be a lot of fun.
La Rena's gonna learn a song. También.
Get me up for the Exozone.
Down.
Yes, we will make it happen. It's hard to pin Gary down for it, but maybe I'll just do a a paranormal style
I'm a,
broadcast. And just
I'm a big Graham Hancock supporter, and so fun to like. I'm reading Norse mythology for our Patreons. More coming, or from our channel members. More's coming really soon. And if you're into ancient history and you see the stuff in Norse mythology with the building of megalithic structures and stuff like that,
I ain't saying it's
stuff.
aliens, but it's aliens.
It's aliens.
I think it's aliens. I do.
So with that, I gotta go.
Yes.
So great being on here again. Lovely to meet you, Doomcock, and I'd be honored to have you on my channel one day.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Great to meet you, Lorena. Great to talk to you, Polly, for the first time. And y'all happy 100 and keep on going, guys.
Absolutely. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, you guys.
All right, take care.
But
Hail the
don't you
leader.
guys go away because we got Paulie here with us still for a little bit. We're going to go through the rest of these super chats, and I'm sure we have a lot more to say on the news at hand. It's been a big news day today.
It has. I mean, as I was saying to begin with, that you have this whole MGM and Amazon thing. That's the least exciting.
Yeah, and that's a big fucking deal. Like, I mean, that's the sad part is we've only gotten to just barely touch on it. And I mean, this is a very huge moment for Amazon and MGM. It's two very big moments because, as I was saying before, this saves MGM from being, nothing. I mean, MGM is one of the big OGs, and they have been nothing but a production company basically for the last 30 years almost now. And this puts Amazon in a position now where they have a theatrical studio they can release stuff through, and that puts them on a whole new platform basically. And it's a big deal. It's a very big deal. I don't know if you guys want to add any more to it right now, but I'm sure we'll get into it as more news and details come out about this deal.
Yeah, the thing that I would say is that if anyone thinks that this means that that Bond suddenly is not going to go woke, think again, because I don't think so. Again, the person that still heads up Amazon, and they're going to fail big time with Lord of the Rings. Our good friend Gary over at Nerdrotic, he recently dropped a video about that as well. Just keep in mind that Jennifer Salk runs stuff over at Amazon. They're like their whole like Amazon production wing. Jennifer Salk, what do we know her here from Midnight's Edge? Tom, you know what I'm referring to. Just to indicate like how woke she is. There was a Conan the Barbarian series in development over at Amazon. It had a 2-season order, and it had like the first 3 or 4 scripts already written. And they were, by all accounts, by people I trust, I haven't read them myself, but people I trust have read them or said that they were absolutely incredible. They were everything that you would have wanted from Conan scripts. Jennifer Salk came in, took one look at them, and she was horrified by the toxic masculinity on display. She cancelled the whole thing. And instead, she went for the Wheel of Time, because that was like more female-centric to begin with, and was going to be made 10 times as female-centric in their adaptation. So she came in to clean up their culture and basically make them vocoso, to make sure that they go brocoso.
And I'm willing to bet that she would have been more than happy. I'm willing to bet she'd been more than happy to woke up Conan. But I think it needs to be stressed because we keep trying to remind people, Conan is one of those few entities where it has a person now in charge who is doing everything they can to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Exactly.
So I recommend you check out our interview with Frederick Malmberg, the man who is the keeper of the legend of Conan.
Exactly. And also because of him, Marvel Comics, where everything is horrible right now, except for the Conan comics, they are really freaking cool. So I actually do recommend that you read them, and that's because it's important. If you have a company that is delivering horrible stuff for the most part, apart from those couple of things, well, then it's actually really important that you send a message by making those couple of things spike in sales, because that sends a very powerful message, much more powerful than just like tuning out altogether.
Well,
so check out Marvel's Conan comics. They're really good because of Frederick Malmberg, because he's the quality control.
And on that note, the WEP says, "Rip Conan, rip James Bond." Yeah, James Bond I can't speak for right now. Like, don't know what's going to happen there. But Conan, I wouldn't worry. And that's where I say Netflix is basically they just buy out whatever it is that the
Exactly,
production
that's the
companies make.
beauty.
Because that's the thing that Frederick has told us, and like I said, check out that interview because he lays it all out there that he definitely has a vision for Conan that's in line with what Howard initially created.
Very
He
much
will
so.
not break and he will not bend. And that's why the Conan comics are so good. And I believe that's why the deal didn't work out for Amazon, you know, in the end. Because I'm sure
Yeah, no,
Amazon would have
obviously,
been more
because
than
they
happy
have-
to make him a woke barbarian.
It's not that Salk went in and said that, okay, we're not doing this. It was like, we're doing this if you change this, and this. And that's when they kind of walked out.
Yeah, Frederick. Well, I can't say that Frederick actually
I-
said this, but I
that's
can
the-
assume. Let's
Yeah,
just say
we
that
can-
Frederick said
we
that.
can, he hasn't told us this, to be clear. He has not told it, but based on,
He
because
can
of
only
course he's
say
very
so
political.
much.
But yeah, but based on my reading of the situation, that's what happened.
Yeah, and again, it's one of those things where I feel like Conan is in good hands, no matter what, no matter where it lands, and we know what's going on a little bit with the Netflix deal, and considering Frederick has told us that Solomon Kane is in development, I think that's a sign that things are going very well for Conan, because otherwise I don't think he would shift gears to another thing right away if that wasn't the case, at least.
No, it has a
opinion.
showrunner now, so all clear on that.
That's what
It's
I'm
almost
saying.
back
I
to where
think
the
things are
Amazon
rolling
thing was.
along really
Yeah.
well, is my point. Yep.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll hear more about that in the next year now. So yeah, and Brian Sloan says, I checked out the new Conan comics because of Andre. I hope you
And what'd you
enjoyed them.
think, Brian?
Hope you enjoyed them.
Let us know in the chat what you thought.
Yeah. Then everything is happening, and so now Amazon has for instance RoboCop.
Yeah.
Do you think that they're smart enough that they're going to make a continuation with Peter Weller? Because I don't know about you, but when I saw, Mortal Kombat 11 is not on the Sega Mega Drive, so I haven't played it. but I do have YouTube, and no, my go-to Mortal Kombat game is still Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, because that is on the Sega Mega Drive. But no, you have like these like YouTube trailers and footage and stuff of like Mortal Kombat 11, where you have Rambo, you have the Terminator,
Your move, creep.
and you have RoboCop. Oh, and Peter Weller came back to do RoboCop just as Sylvester Stallone did the voice for Rambo. Shame on Arnold for not doing the Terminator, so you can't really accept that.
They
But-
could have
but
gotten
just-
me for real cheap.
Yeah, but just hearing Peter Weller, seeing him there, I was like, oh my god, like a continuation there would be so freaking amazing.
Yeah, it'd been awesome to hear Hasta la vista, baby, and then dead or alive, you're coming with me. Just that'd have been awesome.
Yeah.
I kind of get what you're asking, and I think the answer to the question is hopefully Amazon knows what they have and they'll utilize it. As far as Peter Weller coming back, I think that boat sailed with Neil Blomkamp, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think if anybody had a shot, because Neil had Paul's blessing to do this, and I think that was the key to a lot of this. And when MGM balked at the whole thing, it died. It died in that moment, and that's where I couldn't believe they did this to this fucking idea, because look at what happened to Halloween. That movie made more money than that entire franchise had to that point, including the Rob Zombie movies. And I'm willing to bet, I mean, I can't prove it, unfortunately, but I'd be more than willing to put money on the line that RoboCop 2 that Blomkamp was going to make, the revamped RoboCop 2, it would have probably eclipsed that. Like, it would have been one of those, one of those movies that I think, because it would have been timed perfectly. He would have had Peter Weller involved. He had the blessing of Paul Verhoeven. Neil Blomkamp was the guy to do this, and he's a guy that he may be difficult to work with. I don't know the situation. I mean, we've talked to enough people that know him, but the thing is he's a visionary, and the guy knows how to tell a good story. Like or hate Chappie, it's still, to me, it's a movie I can sit down and watch, and it's solid.
It's a good flick.
Yeah, and his other two movies, Elysium, I finally watched that on Mr. H kept pushing me to watch it. It's a great fucking movie. I can't believe I missed it before.
I love Elysium. Elysium's great.
And what can't I say about District? I mean, come on, District 9 is fucking
District 9.
amazeballs. I mean, Jesus. I mean, it's a masterpiece when it comes to sci-fi. Why isn't this guy making Star Wars movies? Why isn't this guy attached to every single fucking sci-fi franchise we have? But that aside, no, we already know there's been movement on Stargate. So that's something that's already being in the mix. Now, I don't know if we should get excited about that or not, because I've been hearing a lot of...
I would not be excited with that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You and I both have heard separate things on that.
Far from excited about that.
Yeah, we both heard separate things on that did not sound good from two different sources. So, yeah, there's something coming and brewing with the Stargate, but I wouldn't get your hopes up that it's going to be anything you're going to enjoy. Probably that's all. I'm going to say. On the contrary,
if you're a Stargate fan, I would like brace myself and start preparing for the absolute worst. Just imagine what's the last thing that you would want to see happen. Like, who's the last person or persons that you would want to see involved in taking on Stargate?
Does his name start with Kurtz and ends with man?
Well, someone from kind of like that general camp. So
I know I was going to say something like that.
Yeah, just prepare yourself for the last person you would possibly want to see.
Let me put it to you this way. I had one person describe what's going to happen possibly as Stargate Discovery.
Yeah, that is pretty much. So don't get too excited about that.
Yeah, but again, Amazon pulling this in, yeah, I think they're going to probably do something with RoboCop for sure. They're going to do something. We already know Stargate's on the table. We know that if they have anything to do with Bond, it's just going to be distribution. So they're not going to have too much say or sway over Bond, really.
Well, they don't really need it, because the people that have Bond are perfectly capable of ruining it all on their own, aren't they?
Exactly. Oh, man. And we should have saw that. We saw it coming. We've been saying that for a while. It's sad. You know, they said it flat out. Oh, James Bond will never be a woman. That doesn't mean that 007 will never be a woman. And we've seen that on display with this new film here. Okay, Paulie.
Oh, I thought I was muted. My
I just thought you were agreeing with me.
No, my super's ready. So I said, okay.
As far as other MGM properties,
but I had a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, what's his last name? The director, of District 9. He's got the weird last name.
Blomkamp.
Yeah.
What is he connected to right now? Is he doing anything?
He was working on his own project last I knew, because that was what got in the way of RoboCop. I don't know how far along that is right now. I'm assuming that's probably, I don't know what happened with the, things getting shut down. Because that
he should stick to his own projects then.
He probably will for now. And he's got District 10 coming, nice. Which is something we knew about. But there was another project that he was working on. I can't remember the name of it. But that I think is going to be on the horizon soon. So keep an eye out for that. Yeah. Unless Andre had anything I can't remember what it was exactly, the project, but
I don't recall. Right now in this second.
It's just another one of his personal projects, and then he's supposed to be moving to District 10.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed.
Which I can't wait for District 10.
Yeah, no, District 9 was cool. But Paulie, do you have anything that to add to the excitement for RoboCop and Bad Robot and Secret Hideouts Stargate before we move on?
No, we can move on. I have to read the story. You're talking about the whole buyout and everything.
Well, yeah, and I think it needs to be noted that in this deal they're going to get like 4,000 movies and a shit ton of television stuff. But what they're not going to get is a lot of MGM's classics. Because
so where does the Pink Panther stay?
I believe the Pink Panther is still in MGM's purview. That was one of the cutoffs. Like it's up to, I believe, a certain year, but like the Pink Panther and Bond are exceptions. And other than that, because like Gone with the Wind,
and what's the return of the Pink Panther? Because like one of the Pink Panther movies is like elsewhere, because at MGM they don't have a return, do they?
Let me.
That's the one that's missing from all boxes and everything.
Was that
And
right? Released by
shows just
Universal,
tonight.
I think, right?
I don't recall.
I think
it might be
Universal
Universal.
had that one. I think.
Yeah, I have it on Blu-ray, so I'm all good myself. But
yeah, but I think it's in the Shout
course-
box set.
yeah, it could have been remastered a little bit more, though. That wouldn't have hurt.
I think that's the only one that's in Universal's, if I remember right. Universal released that, but it is in the Shout Factory box set. But
I don't think that ever got a region B release.
may not have. But I'm like 99% sure I've got that one. Because the one I have the Shout Factory box set, which has all of the Sellers Pink Panther films, and then
All of them, including so all 6.
I'm pretty damn sure. I'll double check.
Although personally, I only count 5 of them. But
yeah, I'll double check because I'm like 100% sure I have all of them now because I've got all these separate releases of the latter films, the like Kino did and all that stuff. So,
yeah. Because I know there was like one decent collection that I have it right here. Oh yeah, this one, it does have the return.
Yeah.
This is like a 6 movies. Yeah, Shout Factory.
Let me check. I can check on my region free player, my region free player or whatever, the one that breaks the regions, so I can watch region B movies.
Yeah, because this one is region A locked. I know.
Oh, is
that.
it A locked? I was gonna ask. I was gonna check on that for you.
Yeah,
But
no, it's
speaking of Blu-rays and DVDs, this is a man that I want to thank for coming into our 100th episode, and somebody we haven't had on the morning show yet, but is a very familiar face around Midnight's Edge, and one of my go-to guys when it comes to physical media, because he actually has a show called Let's Get Physical. Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett, sir, look at you looking sexy today with your hair slicked back.
3 of my favorite YouTubers, man. I can't believe it. I got Polly, Tom, and Andre here. My God, what's not to love about the 3 of you?
Well, we're just glad to have you here because I wasn't sure if we were going to still be going by the time you're going to get a chance to break in here. But
I mean, I got to jump on with Az on our Hot Toys show. But I think, Andre, I want to thank you we had a great, that Midnight Metal stream we had that began with you turned into this epic stream because I didn't expect director Brett Pierce to jump on afterwards, who directed The Wretched, which came out over the summer. And we came up with an idea that apparently we're going to try and raise $6,666,000 to make 3 horror movies in our.
Oh, nice!
We came up with that. So we're going to launch it in June. It's going to be called the Raise Hellathon.
That sounds amazing.
I was on the stream.
We're in supporting that.
I was in the chat, Robert.
How insane! I just love that Midnight Metal stream, and you never know what's going to happen. And we've got the lead singer of a Swedish, I think it's Swedish,
Swiss.
metal.
Swiss.
Named Chaosium.
Yes,
which
Swiss.
It's Swiss. It's Swiss.
Yeah.
Chaosium.
Yeah.
Sorry, pardon me. Oh shit. The Swiss metal band Chaosium,
just like the cheese,
is going to come on, and it's my favorite thing to do is these Midnight Metal streams. So Andre, thank you for coming on, and all the stuff we talked about is like now coming true with Amazon buying.
I know, right? Well, and I'm glad you popped in at like a perfect time because we're just finishing up our discussion on that. And I was bringing up the fact that even though this is a great deal for Amazon and it keeps MGM alive, Amazon's not getting all the classic films. And Andre was curious where the Pink Panther fell into that purview. And if I remember right, the deal was when the whole Turner, then bought by Warner, went down, they got everything up to, I think, wasn't it 60 or 70, 1960 or 70? I can't remember which.
I think 70 because they ended up getting like 2001 is over at Warner Brothers. Yeah, because there's some
exceptions, but then MGM, I think, got to keep like the Pink Panther and I think like the Sergio Leone movies and certain things like that they got to keep. But then you're right. Then like certain other ones like 2001 and some of the more prestigious films ended up over at Warner Brothers.
Yeah, like Wizard of Oz. So I don't know. I'd be curious. Gone with the Wind, all that stuff, and I have all the Warner Brothers physical media they released on that stuff. But I'm curious to see where it's going to be. I mean, I don't look the whole thing. I would like to see Amazon make MGM bring that restore the luster to the MGM line, put movies out theatrically. I want to see that line with just an Amazon company, and again, all of these mergers and acquisitions, they still require great filmmakers, great visionary content creators to be making great stuff. And, I think in the last couple of days, there's 2 movies, for instance, like Gunpowder Milkshake and Edgar Wright's Last Night in Soho. I'm like, wow, original movies that look fairly exciting and intriguing, movies that I want to see, the movies that I haven't seen before, and they're not based on previous IPs. I mean, I think we're all getting tired. Like, what are they going to do in 40 years? Just recycle the same IPs that they've been recycling now? I mean, yesterday we celebrated Star Wars, the 44th anniversary of Star Wars. It's like, my God. And now I'm supposed to still be excited about The Mandalorian? I am, but make something new. And I hope they will at MGM. I hope all these studios will concentrate on making new product that new generations can get excited about.
Yeah, that's kind of something I had said before too, is we got to kind of look at this now, like, you know how when we refer to Sony, it's Sony, but it's actually Columbia TriStar, right?
Right.
Like for, the better part of the 20th century, that's what we knew that company as. But now we just kind of call them Sony because Sony bought them out. It's going to be, I think, the same here. We're going to call them Amazon or MGM, but it's still MGM in the end of the day. And you're right. I think they should take advantage of that logo. I can't speak for the people that run the company because we were just talking about how, things are over there. But if they do this right, this is a way for them to reinvigorate the MGM label, and we could really start getting some more movies and high-profile things coming out of Hollywood because of it. And Amazon can finally put their money where their mouth is when it comes to entertainment. And Amazon Prime being one of the number one streaming services out there, they really need to start kicking it up a notch, because that's one that always gets overlooked when we talk about the streaming stuff, even though they are the sleeping giant, as I keep pointing out.
Right. No, I agree with you. And, it's great to have all these IPs being utilized over and over again. But, I would think that there should be a concerted effort to creating new visions. And they've been doing that. Like, we're getting things like, I really like, for instance, The Boys, or I really like The Queen's Gambit, which was based on a Walter Tevis novel. And there is good stuff that's being made, but there's such a cacophony of noise. I mean, to have something break through, it's really difficult. And I think that it would be nice to see studios really putting new product at the forefront and getting people excited about movies that, well, they haven't seen before. And I think that's why I really like seeing those two trailers for Gunpowder Milkshake and Last Night in Soho. The Gunpowder Milkshake was directed by an Israeli director who made a film almost 10 years ago called Big Bad Wolves that I really loved. It was a Australian, call it a crime, sort of a crime drama that I loved. And to see him, this is his next film. He made a short, but to see him do this almost 10 years later, I'm like, where's this guy been? I really like Big Bad Wolves. Why hasn't he made 5 movies in the last 10 years? And I think there's so many talented people that don't get shots to make original programming, original films, and we need more of that. Let's get back to creating original visions, because Hollywood never got rich following trends. They always got rich setting trends, and all the films and all the franchises we love, they were at one time original, and they came out of nowhere and blew people away. And we need more of that kind of thinking. This risk averse, well, we're not. I mean, that's one of the things I like about Jason Blum. It's like, okay, I've got my $5 million model. If you're a filmmaker and I like your property, if you make it for $5 million and it turns out great, we'll get Universal to release it theatrically. Or he'll have Lee Wanell come in and make a reimagining of The Invisible Man for $8 million, and it ends up grossing $100 million domestically. And that's pretty great. And I don't understand why studios are all like, nope, we have to make a $150 million movie that's going to make $1 billion. And I'm like, okay, well, what if that doesn't work? Why not make 10 movies for $8 million that each make $100 million? That's kind of a long diatribe, but there you go.
No, but you're right. And that's kind of what I was kind of getting to, is they have the opportunity now to take advantage of the situation. And really, they should look over at what, I hate saying this, and I feel dirty saying this, but what Tom Rothman has done for Sony. And that is quit worrying about the superhero movies and the franchise stuff. Let other people deal with that, which is what he did. He's letting Feige and Disney deal with the Spider-Man stuff and doing their thing. And he's making and producing movies like, Baby Driver and stuff like that. These little darlings that are making a shit ton of money for him. They aren't costing a bunch of money. And I think that's where Amazon can really do this. And that's another avenue where I've said before is, I don't give a shit if you want to make woke movies until you're blue in the face. Just quit doing it in our superhero and sci-fi and in action adventure films. Go make a movie that is about that. And that's the perfect platform for doing something like that. You've got, a black voice that wants to tell a black story from the black perspective. Go for it, right? There's the perfect platform for it, and you've got tons of people out there that are screaming to tell their story. Give somebody a couple $1,000,000 to go make that movie, and then you make a bunch of money off that, like you were just saying, Robert, and then that funds your other bigger movies. So then you can go make a RoboCop or a Stargate with that money, and those, that's how this stuff is supposed to work. And I can't believe I've said it, but that's where I think Tom Rothman's been one of the best things to ever happen to Sony in that respect, because he's played the long game with these smaller pictures, making more money over time, and now they're in a better place than they've ever been before because of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely right about that. It's just interesting to me because so often IPs are a product of the time in which they were created. I mean, RoboCop was sort of an indictment, the same way that Wall Street was an indictment of the Wall Street spending and American culture at the time. I mean, it's interesting. It took a Dutchman to make RoboCop, which is a total satire of American life at the time. And yet they come back and they remake RoboCop, I don't know, 10 years ago or something. And they have
2014.
Yeah, they have Jose Padilla, who's incredible, made the Elite Force movies in Brazil. And they bring these great foreign directors who could, I mean, those Elite Force movies, or Elite Squad movies, those movies are very cool. And then they give a director, let's bring this cool foreign director to America and give him a RoboCop remake. And it's like, that doesn't necessarily work. Why not ask the filmmaker what they want to make? If you find a talented filmmaker working in South America, why not ask that filmmaker, what do you want to make now? We're going to bring you to America, bring your unique sensibility and your storytelling prowess to make a new movie that's yours. No, but instead they just go remake RoboCop, and the director's going to be like, okay, you're going to give me American money. And then you get something that, it wasn't that it was half-assed, it just wasn't inspired because RoboCop was a product of Paul Verhoeven's sensibility combined with the subject matter.
Yeah.
And just rebooting it. I mean, you look at RoboCop and you look at Total Recall, competently made films, both of the remakes, but they're not what we originally got. And so, yes, let's go remake RoboCop. Well, why? How'd that work out for you? Were new audiences rediscovering RoboCop? No, they were watching the original RoboCop. They were watching the original Total Recall, as they always will, because those movies resonated. And why aren't we making the new RoboCop? Why aren't we finding talent that has certain sensibilities that's going to bring us things we've never seen before? And I'm hoping now that streaming services have the deep pockets that they don't necessarily have to worry about making money at the box office, they can start really branching out and creating things that are new and unique and unusual, because they don't have the pressure of grossing making a movie that has to gross $500 million or $1 billion. If they put it on the streaming service and it gets watched, like The Queen's Gambit, which is something I really enjoyed. I'm also a Walter Tevis fan who wrote that novel. They would have never made that. The studios, they tried to make that for 25 years and the studio said no. But they made it for streaming and we're all the better for it. And like 65 million people or something watch that show. And Scott Frank is now adapting as a result of that The Sparrow, which is one of my favorite science fiction novels of the last 2 decades, and we're going to see something I've really wanted to see that's new. So
yeah, there's absolutely a point on that. I just have to bring up on screen while I still can. Duro On sent us 50 euros, and he says, I'm back. Happy 100, guys. Oh, thank you.
Welcome back.
Yes, this is our 100th morning show. So thank you so much. We have a few more. Actually, we have many more super chats. We're going to get through them all in the end. One I can get to right now because it's for you. Harry Nice Guy says, congrats to your 100th show. Oh, thank you. Keep up what you're doing. We will. Robert Meyer Burnett. Doomcock reports rumors about Return of the George back to Star Wars. What do you say?
Well, okay. I think that could be interesting. I don't know. I don't necessarily know if that would be a good thing or not, because here's the thing. Again, Star Wars is a 44-year-old franchise as of yesterday, and it was born out of George Lucas's imagination. But at the time, he had a lot of collaborators that made Star Wars and Empire what it was. He had like producer Gary Kurtz. He had his wife, Marsha Lucas, editing. And I think, again, Star Wars was a product of its time. And I know this is going to be a controversial opinion, but in my mind, there are 2 great Star Wars movies, Star Wars and Empire, and everything else has been somewhat of a disappointment. And I don't know if George Lucas, he's a different person now. And I don't know if bringing him back to Star Wars would necessarily be, I mean, what he created is 44 years old. Who is the same person they were when they did something 44 years ago, half a century ago almost? And while maybe he would be great to bring back, I mean, I kind of like watching what Favreau and Filoni have been doing over at The Mandalorian, because it's kind of brought back the fun to Star Wars. And bringing Lucas back to me seems like triage, but maybe not. I mean, look, I always say the same thing. Give me great characters and a great story, and I'm in.
I'm not so I mean, this is just my opinion on this. I have nothing to go on. I'm not so sure he even really wants to be involved. I'm not saying Disney wouldn't go above and beyond using his name to try and sell something with Star Wars related. But I'm just not so sure that George would be like, oh yeah, I want to get back into this and do the Star Wars thing again. I think he's moved past it. I think he's really just done with it. Because for years he's wanted to sell the franchise, even during the prequel era. He wanted to sell it to Disney then. And he just, didn't think that the time was right. And, he got kind of badgered into it by Bob Iger. And I don't think he realized what he gave away until after the fact. But now it's too late. He's moved on. He's got a new kid in his life. He's got a new wife in his, well, not new wife. I mean, they've been married for a few years now. But I mean, he's got new things in his life that he didn't have before that he's concentrating on. I feel like that, and he's going to sit back and make money off of Star Wars no matter what, because he's one of the single largest stockholders in Disney.
Yeah.
So I mean, what's he going to do? What would he really bring to the table now? I mean, that's the question. I mean, do I think he's capable of it? Oh, probably. But why would he want to?
Yeah.
I mean, really. I just don't see it in the cards, but that's I could be surprised. I never know.
Gentlemen, I have to jump out because I'm joining As for Hot Toys. Paulie?
Hold on, bro. Don't be leaving just yet.
Uh-oh.
Is it right if I give a little more information out?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, man.
Some of this.
Yeah. So June 10th. Now I just got off the phone with another conversation with Jeff Rivas. So Eddie Olmos, Lou Diamond Phillips, for an hour. Robert's going to drive this puppy. We'll be there. We're raising money for a Latino theater group. Stand and Deliver, reunion panel. That first, I mean, it's just going to be gold with Eddie and Lou. And I was just talking more details. Everyone is just so jacked, Robert.
Dude, I can't believe that I'm going to talk directly to Edward James Olmos. I mean, the first time I ever saw him, we talked about this before, was in the movie Zoot Suit, and he became, I've always loved him. He's always classed up the joint. I loved him as Castillo in Miami Vice. And I know we're going to focus on Stand and Deliver, which is such a great film. And really, I mean, it was the first time he was really front and center in a movie the way he was. And yet, I mean, he's had such a long career in television and things like that. Now, of course, in Mayans, he's kicking ass, and we love everything he's done, from Adama in Battlestar Galactica to all the different episodic shows he's done. Of course, he played Gaff in Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049. And, as somebody would say, over the course of his career, he's done a man's job, sir. And I really look forward to talking with him about Stand and Deliver, because it's a wonderful movie, and in a way it's kind of a movie that's never lost its resonance, and the idea of teachers and the power of what teaching can mean. I think it's definitely something that we need to see more of. We need to see, the power of teaching is something that I think more so than ever, as we come out of a pandemic, we need to sort of reestablish what teachers can mean in young minds' lives. So I can't wait to do this. It's on the 10th
June 10th.
of June 10th, and it's going to be very, very exciting.
We'll have the poster up ready soon with more details. I know people are asking, but R&B, man, much love, brother.
All right, Paulie.
And also, I just want to say while we got here yet, tomorrow, 1 p.m. Central, we're going to be doing Bond review back at Bond off the heels of this news. So I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. But if I remember right, we're doing on Her Majesty's Service, I think is the one we're on.
On Her Majesty's Secret
Service.
Secret Service.
Yeah, phrasing, Tom, phrasing. So yeah, join us then, and we'll talk to you some more then, Robert. So thanks for dropping in and helping us celebrate this 100th episode of Midnight's Edge in the Morning.
Well, we have all the time in the world. So I will see you tomorrow. That's my Louis Armstrong, as bad as that might be. There you go.
I see
was awesome.
trees of green.
That's right.
Oh
I'll see you
god.
guys later.
Oh man, don't get. I
yeah.
could totally go off, man, on Louis. I could totally do I do like an old 1926, St. Louis blues.
Well, I will just say, be seeing you.
Take care, sir. All right.
Take
So we
care.
want to thank Robert again for hopping in and helping us celebrate this. I want to thank everybody who's coming. Cameron, Lorena, Doomcock, of course, and Robert, all for helping us celebrate this 100th episode. But don't go away, guys. We still got some super chats to get through, and we'll get to them here promptly.
Yeah, exactly. One we can bring up right now is Snakesht172, who says RoboCop fans also watched our RoboCop remake. That was so awesome. I loved our RoboCop remake. For those that don't know what that is, at the same time that MGM and Sony released their RoboCop remake, the fans made their own RoboCop remake where they had various YouTubers and small filmmakers that all did one scene of RoboCop, and then they coupled them together. So it's basically all of these different shorts with different takes and reinterpretations of all the scenes in RoboCop, and it is glorious. Some scenes are just so good, especially the boardroom scene. It's just so good. So highly recommend that you check that out if you have the opportunity to do so. I know I prefer that to the other one. And then heading back to the classic super chats. Let's see where we were. Cynical Lindsay said for $9.99, after the Hollywood Reporter dropped the article on Hollywood's strained relationship with China, Wanda, a Chinese company, sold all of their stock in AMC theaters. Coincidence? I doubt it.
Not
I
a
think that
coincidence at all.
something big is happening behind the scenes. Something is happening.
No,
This article shows that something big is happening there. And Samoan Pirate says for $5, CCP money belongs in Hollywood as much as it belongs in Western Samoa. Not at all. And then we got this one. Let's see.
I mean, while you're... Oh, go ahead. You got one.
Yeah, no, and then I think we got this one from Kit Kat, but I'm going to say it one more time just in case I missed it. For £10, Kit Kat said, Disney has alienated a huge portion of the Western audience while counting on a bailout from the Far Eastern audience, only to find that their woke rubbish alienates the entire Far Eastern audience. Yeah, I got that one, but thanks for the support anyway.
Yeah, and that's kind of the point we've said for a while here.
Yeah. And the Rubber Band Man says, I'm a Black American. The wokeness in Black Panther got on my nerves. Yeah, I think we got that. And Marigu Ann says, is this mafia why some defend cancel culture? This is in reference to something I spoke with Kamran earlier when he just came. So this is a few hours old by now. Yes, it's the people that's being silenced are the ones that the mafia wants to be silenced, which is why people defend cancel cultures, because it's the right people from their point of view that is being cancelled. And then, we got this one. Eskimonofono says, y'all are cool, guys. Well, thank you so much. And ActionCom, this is a good question, says for $10, what advice would you give Babs and Mike of Eon regarding James Bond now that Amazon has purchased MGM? Do they need to watch their backs? Will Amazon play nice? Any thought on that?
I don't know about the latter, but I'm going to go with what Doomcock and we were all talking earlier, because I've said that for a while, is you need to go back to the 60s with Bond. You need somebody like, get somebody like Tarantino or Rodriguez, somebody who can really interject some fucking machismo into fucking Bond again, and celebrate what he's all about more so than go away from it. And I think that's the key. And get somebody like Henry Cavill to play the part, and you're good to go, and just totally go back to square one. But I could be completely wrong on that as well. Paulie, are you there?
I'm here.
What would you do with Bond on that? And the other part of the question was
with all these Conan Bonds and Star Wars, flex that masculine energy, blow shit up, save the day, save the gal, rock it.
This is very, very sound advice. I agree completely. That's what they should be doing creatively. Now, politically, what Babs and Co should be doing is, I don't know, watch their back and play ball.
Well,
because otherwise they're out. Nicely. They may be out already.
I think their politics will be in line, so I don't think that's a problem there in that respect. But I don't know. Money, business, politics don't mix well, so.
Yeah.
Or the business and politics side of things, I should say, since money is kind of business, but you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And then we have Stephen Otten, who commented on Kamran's cup, saying, Prince Vlad of Folgers, regarding Kamran's coffee mug, indeed, and your Muslim uncle said for $14.99, Salam Kamran, can you please expand on why Disney has no problem pushing morals that many Americans abhor, but say, yes, master, to China when they say no? Oh, hi, Tom. I'm very sorry that I wasn't able to ask that to Kamran directly, but I'll be following up with Kamran off stream on this whole China thing. So I'll be sure to bake that question in there. But thanks for the support. And then Amenti says for $10, the divorce with China is inevitable. They are too fickle and demand to cater to, and woke politics do not sell there anyway. Hollywood wants everything, and their greed will leave them with nothing. Yeah, this is the irony. And Philip Almaraz says for $4.99, when Hollywood has a villain in a movie, isn't the race of the villain the only thing they look at? Yeah, we got this one already. Gypsy Warrior said, happy 100th episode. You guys always make my day. Oh, thank you. Really appreciate that. And Jeff's disembodied charred something beginning with P says, hello, Kamran. How are you? Also, hi, Tom and Viking. Oh, thank you. And hi, Jeff. Fake name says, I have to say I have come to hate Andre's voice. It is far too relaxing, and now I can't sleep without it. Ah, well, thank you, I guess. And Mecha J says Netflix just released a cast for the Sandman adaptation, and under the names are the pronouns. Any thoughts on this?
Well, sadly, that super chat came in obviously before we talked about it, but yeah, go ahead, Andre. Sorry.
Yeah, all I would say is that my excitement, not because of that, but because of like some things with the cast, now it looks like we're not going to get John Constantine at all, and that was like one of the things I was looking forward to hear. So I think I may stick with the audiobook. This looks like it's just going to change it up too much, too many ways, and be too on the nose, and my interest is significantly reduced. That's my thoughts on that. And I guess I'm the biggest Sandman fan here. Paulie, you said that you were familiar with Sandman, if you're there.
No. What I said was that now playing at the Sands Dune nightclub and casino in Las Vegas is a new production.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
The pronouns of Sandman.
Yeah, no, of course. Well, anyway, it did not do any kind of wonders for my excitement, let's put it that way. Far from it. And Darius Munchausen sent us a popcorn super sticker, so thanks for that. And HyperGyver2 says for $5, for Marvel to learn, they need movies to lose money. Phase 4 may be that wake-up call. There is not a single film that will make the 1 billion milestone. Oh no, you got that right. That's just going to a long time until Marvel sees anything approaching 1 billion again. And Tonnerster3 says, could the overt focus on inclusion here be overcompensating for dealing with China? I know, as Kamran said before, that's two completely unrelated matters, I should say. And Chris K says for $5, keep the goodness coming. And GEC812 says for $5 Kamran, Muslims not always portrayed negatively, mainly in the last 2 decades. In the 1920s, there's the Sheikh, son of the Sheikh, etc., up to the 1980s, Jewel of the Nile. I'm sorry that we missed it while he was on, but I'll raise it to him when I speak to him later. So, yeah, thanks for the support. And Tom Bramlett says for $4.99, what do you think of Marvel trying to push into India? Because China don't want them at all? And yeah, this is actually something we heard, that there's a Bollywood dance sequence in Eternals. Why do you think there's a Bollywood dance sequence there? Paulie?
Yes.
Why do you think there's a Bollywood dance sequence in Eternals? Probably because they're... I can't speak for Paulie, but my answer is because they're trying to appeal to every fucking quadrant they can. What do you think, Paulie?
I mean, what's amazing is it's like the third day now we're talking about this Eternals, where I kind of liked it 3 days ago, but I absolutely despise it now. No more Eternals. And that Bollywood thing, yeah, what happened to that guy's muscles? Wasn't he all like jacked up and showing off all over social media? He's not a funny guy, but I don't even know if he's going to be funny in this. No, it was very strange.
Yeah, and I feel bad for Salma Hayek. But on that note, since you don't really want to talk about it anyway, Andre, our good buddy Douglas Nelson, has sent us this lovely art for you to have and enjoy. Oh, the new Sandman.
Well, thank you. That's it's very, very cool artwork, and let's see how close it is to what we're ultimately going to end up getting. So thank you so much for it. Really appreciate it.
Probably sadly accurate.
Certainly in the case of Dream himself, it's probably going to be a little bit like that.
Yeah. And anyway.
Who put that together?
Douglas Nelson. Thank you for that, Doug.
Yes, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Let me tell you something. That was more like caught my eye more than the Eternals poster. I mean,
Doug is always sending us good stuff. In fact, he's got some art coming up in our upcoming video as well. So there you
go. Yeah, indeed. And then returning to the super chats. Then we have Bertrand Kurt Russell, who says, Kathleen Kennedy, did you ever hear the tragedy of George Lucas the Wise? I thought not. It's not the story Disney would tell you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, indeed.
That's a good one. That's a good super.
Yeah. Disney does to Star Wars things that are unnatural.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of Tom the Midnight Edge? Tom, you're supposed to come on.
He knows the future. And quite often, he'll even use the meme. You know the meme I'm talking about. I fucking knew it! All the time. Every day. Day in, day out.
Kamran Pasha the Wise.
Kamran Pasha knew.
Yeah. And speaking of Kamran Pasha, here we have another super chat that was addressed to him. That again, I regret that weren't able to get to, but I'll see what we can do about bringing it up to him later. Sean, the movie man 71 said for $10, "Hey Kamran, I agree with you. Growing up in the 80s, it was a joke in the black community that the black person will be the first to die in a horror film. Now it's a joke that the white man will always be the villain." Yeah,
kind
like some tropes. Yeah, it's gotten to
which
that
I
point.
challenge that black guy, the first to die in horror movie thing, because the people that did that research were including a bunch of movies that weren't horror movies, and I called bullshit on that.
No, it was always, whether it was horror or action or
usually the first person to die in a horror movie is a girl.
Always the first person to eat it.
That's not always true, and I looked it up because like they had very few horror movies on that list. A lot of it was like action movies and other bullshit. I'm like, wait a minute here, because 9 times out of 10, it's a woman that gets killed in a horror movie first. Do the fucking research. Check it out.
You're so toxic.
I'm fucking being honest.
You can't even give a brother that.
I'm being truthful. In horror movies, and the other reason is probably because there's not that many black people in horror movies, to be honest with you.
Not when they're all killed up first.
No, they aren't usually. Most of the time they live.
Are you speaking your truth?
I'm not speaking my truth. I'm speaking fucking facts. Even Scream made a point that the black guy was the only one smart enough to go, "I'm getting the fuck out of here."
Well, that's what the whole play was of Get Out was all about.
Yeah, but that's also not true though.
Which is why it was so hilarious, that movie. On that level,
In fact, Friday the 13th notoriously has had more black people live than die.
All right, take it easy, bro. Take it easy.
I just take offense to that one.
Cógelo con take it easy. A line straight out of Scarface.
Yeah, exactly. Let go with that one. That's not the biggest thing here in the world.
Easy.
Moving on with the next super chat. John Tube 2K says, "What will happen with the Marvel Phase 4? Will it be revenge of the studios and be a hard lesson for Kevin Feige to learn?" Yeah, Kamran Pasha did address that. Feige has probably been misled in the cocktail parties, and he's about to learn a heavy lesson. And it's probably going to even be in the trades. Has Kevin Feige lost his luster or something like that? So yeah, it's going to be a tough lesson to learn, and it's going to come. It's going to be brutal. And then the Jack of all casuals said, "Breaking news, guys! Amazon is buying MGM." Thanks for the tip. We already covered that, but thanks for alerting us, and you did long before we actually got to it. So thanks. And Merlin's Id says for $5, "After being called everything but a child of God for how I vote by these clowns, I'm enjoying watching their fall. Schadenfreude indeed. Free Hong Kong." Yeah. And then we have Dash D's who says, "You can't make moral choices, decisions, and evaluations of the unmoral if you've never lived in the arena. You can't make logical conclusions. In China, this all makes real sense because they were in the arena." Very good point. And then we already got the, and then Douglas A. Burton. We got this one. We got the for Kamran. And London Fog 66 says, "Joker did good without China." Yes, indeed. If it's a good movie, you don't really need China to do amazing. And Slade Wilson says, "Hail Doomcock." Deborah Young says, "Thanks for all your insights, and for me, I love your Star Wars news. Kamran, love to Mama Bear." I didn't get that one, but I got the other one. So thanks for the support. And Darius Münchhausen says, "Hail Doomcock." And Pixel Supreme says, "What? Only just now realized this is the 100th episode. Congratulations. And hail to Doomcock." Oh, yes, indeed. Thank you. And hail. And GEC812 says, "Kamran and Doomcock, be still my beating heart." says Doomcock, and Warlock King says Hail DVD. Obviously Doomcock. And Mags said, "Oh my god, it's happening! Doomcock and Kamran on the same stream." Yeah, that was pretty awesome, wasn't it?
Yeah. And of course, they know each other.
Sure was.
Yeah. And Joachim Stark sends us 20 Swedish krona, and proving that he's Swedish, says, "Getting a BJ is the only time do better works." So, yeah, thanks for that. Yeah. And Smith Self says, "Wile E. Coyote always had a plan. How'd those turn out?" Yeah, about as well as Marvel's plan with China, I should imagine. And then we have, let's see, we got this one. And Hypergiver 2 said, "You mean the Fallout series was right all along?" Yeah, it's looking like it.
Well, I just want to know, like everybody's like, "Oh, break it up in the chat and stuff." Like, Paulie and I do this all the time. In fact, we've talked about possibly doing a show, because him and I can get into it pretty good, where we actually watch Siskel and Ebert reviews and then review the movies ourselves and see if we can get just as much of an argument. But I don't know if that's going to work out. But no, actually, Johnny Skinwalker brings up a better point. Here's a better argument, Paulie.
What?
The final black guy. That's something that I think is a better argument to be had.
The final black guy?
Yeah, there's very rarely would you have a movie where the black guy is the final in a horror film. Well, of course, usually it's a girl. That's part of the reason. But that now that's a better argument in my opinion. But anyway, back to the super chats, Andre.
These are good. These are good for show notes for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We got to come up like Midnight's Edge at the movies or something. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. But we'll because we argue like Siskel and Ebert, so we very rarely agree on films, except for the ones we do agree on, like Scarface and La Bamba. Speaking of, you could plug your little thing real quick.
Yeah, tonight 6 p.m. Pacific on the Latino Slant.
Yeah,
Mr. H reviews. Tom here and we do a deep dive into the 1983 film Scarface, starring Al Pacino, directed by Brian De Palma, and written by Oliver Stone. We had a great time. I can't wait for you guys to see it. And that is on my channel. And we also have Mr. H reviews is really cool, by the way. And I did a 15-minute addendum, a side piece where it's more, I just talk about like all the challenges of the production. It's very Andre-ish.
But I will
cool. I look forward to it.
But I will say this: Day of the Dead and Dawn of the Dead both had a final black guy. So there you go.
No, Night of the Living Dead.
Night of the Living Dead, he got killed.
Oh,
but Day of the Dead and Dawn of the Dead, both of them lived.
Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, Ken Foray.
Was that the one where they're in the missile silo?
No, that's
Day of the Dead. That's Day of the Dead.
Day of the Dead.
Yeah.
And it's not really a missile silo. It's like an underground, it's a cavern, a salt mine or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I guess it might be a missile silo. I don't know. Either way, yeah, that's the one. That's the third one. But both the times, yeah, both those films. So there you go.
Yeah. And then Thunderheart says for 10 Canadian dollars, thank you so much. Hail Andre, hail Tom, hail Kamran, hail Doomcock. Congratulations on episode 100. Hashtag Doomcock was right. I still wonder if George Lucas can bring people back, since fans were fickle about prequel trilogy. We kind of answered this already when Doomcock was here, but Paulie, let's have your take. Will bringing George Lucas back make a difference?
I missed the news. Is that happening?
That's what Doomcock is reporting.
Oh my God! Really? Oh,
official.
Hell yeah! I mean, okay, that's my initial reaction as a Star Wars, old school nerd on that. But Obviously, he wasn't the greatest director, but so maybe as the executive running it, helping write, he had great stories. But yeah, I think that's going to bring a lot of people back into the fold. That's a good start.
Yeah.
That is a good start.
What I think that they'll do, if that is accurate, is that they use his name mostly, and they have him do a few meetings with Jon Favreau, which we know has already happened. That they basically continue, but they use more of his name, while Favreau does more of the work with George's blessing. I think that's probably what it's gonna look like, and I think to remove the stench of everything that has been, especially if they're able to get Gina Carano back, even if it's a limited capacity. That's going to do wonders to bring people back again. I really think so. Then we have Steven Sana that says Pablo could be made the scapegoat while Kennedy leaves with all this adoration and thank yous from Disney. Oh, that's already happening. Remember that fake leak that we got on Reddit that was planted from Lucasfilm? That's exactly what was being set up right there, Steven. That was Pablo being portrayed as the nefarious one behind the scenes, while Kathleen Kennedy was being praised as a saint. So yeah, that's exactly what looks like is happening here. And then says Doomcock, Kamran, Midnight's Edge in the morning with a bunch of diamonds and hearts and super stickers around. So thank you for that. Then we have Dashtis, who says money has no conscience and a short memory. Yes, indeed. And we got 50 euro super chat or super sticker from Gran Wasu 42. So thanks for that. And £50 from KitKat. So thank you so much. Destiny Captain says hail Doomcock. And Etienne Falardeau says, friend of mine said that the Cena video was basically a hostage video. I also want Kamran's and Doomcock's thoughts on the glorious Powerpuff leaks. Well, I'm very sorry that we weren't able to get to that. If they come back in the near future, we'll be sure to ask them. But we are actually working on a Powerpuff leak thing. So check back for that in the next few days.
We are?
We are, yes.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. And Polaris Sucks just says hail all, so thank you so much. And Lord Trinnen says Midnight's Edge, Kamran Pasha, Doomcock, Larena. I sense a great convergence of power that will make Hollywood tremble. Yeah, maybe. And sends us a diamond super sticker. And Adam Wofford says, hey, I don't think there is enough woman power. Can you guys get Freddie Prinze Jr.? Then there is enough female power. So, nice one there.
Yeah.
And
Mario Lopez, man.
Yeah. And Boyo sent us 5 Bulgarian Lev and says, hail guys and girl, because this was sent when Larena was here. Check the new cast poster for the Sandman that just came out. Please, spoiler, prepare your vomit bags first. Well, Boyo, didn't see this until now, but you'll be glad to know, which I'm sure you saw, we did see, and we got all their reactions. That was very important for me to get while they were still here. And Valiant Renegade, check out his channel, says for $4.99. The Doomcock dollars and Harvey Wappam is very cool and is going in a frame in Renegade Jr.'s room. Happy birthday to Renegade Jr., which I know was the other day. I said on Twitter too, and I'll be sure to forward that to the Leech himself. Again, sorry that I missed it when he was on, but it was just too much else going on to find every single super chat addressed. But thank you for the support.
Hey Tom,
and,
you're gonna have to get your facts together, man. You're causing a lot of heat in the chat, man, over over that
I'm sorry
stuff.
that math doesn't converge with people's feelings. I mean,
get the facts on paper and send them to me, and we will discuss.
I had a long. This was like a year or two ago. I had a long breakdown with somebody about this whole thing, and we pulled up this article that somebody was claiming this whole thing, and like a good majority of the films weren't even horror films. Was my point.
That's racist.
So they were pulling, they were pulling in crap that wasn't even horror. And so I called bullshit on this trope because, if you go
on the horror trope, all right,
on
but
the horror
maybe
side of it, now,
in general,
is an overall debate on the other side of it, and like I said, a better argument might be made for the final black guy because there's only like 3 or 4 major movies that we've been able to bring up here in the chat that have that. So again, like all I'm saying is I'm calling bullshit on this trope that in horror movies the first person to die is usually a black person. That's not the case.
We're gonna have to put that in our new show.
Yeah, well, that's something that can be discussed in due course. Moving on with the super chat.
I think it was either Natasha or somebody like that who pointed it out. It's usually women or generally a couple that are having sex. If you want to be real, especially
it was
I'm sorry.
Yeah, she said that. Yeah. That's usually the first people that have sex that get killed.
That's generally the case. Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And moving on, Crazy Pineapple says, so it looks like John Cena went from the Marine to the CCP mouthpiece. And hail Midnight's Edge. Yeah, well, hail Crazy Pineapple. And yes, it sure looks that way. And Melvin Belliard says for $20, thank you so much. Really appreciate that. He says, what was missing from that so-called Cena apology video was him. He was all right and holding up the current day newspaper for proof that he was alive. Yeah, indeed. We just needed a newspaper as proof that he's still alive. That was one of the best hostage videos I've seen this side of the IS. The DCV Titan says John Cena for Geode. Oh yeah, no, that would be some casting like that.
Then he could actually say he's as good as The Rock, or at least to play The Rock anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Ray Young 74 says Harvey in the house. Hashtag push the button. Mech 1164 says for $4.99. So what's the next shoe to drop? Does Discovery Time Warner get bought by someone else? CBS Viacom, aka Paramount, gets bought too, and by whom? Apple, Netflix. You're right. The last one. CBS Viacom is probably going to get bought.
No, Warner already made their move.
Yeah, exactly. So, Tom, you have the story on that?
No, but I mean, just what we already know, and that is that Warner made their move with this, or AT&T, I should say, made their move with Discovery Networks and decided to let them, take the reins on Warner Media, basically. And as far as a sale for Paramount goes, or even Sony for that matter, I would never count anything out. I have a feeling, especially now, and get ready for a future I fucking knew it video, when I say this, because now that Amazon has bought MGM, I guarantee you Apple's going to make a move for either Sony or Paramount CBS. I would not be surprised. Or even maybe Lionsgate. I doubt it, but those are the three that are the most vulnerable, Sony being the least of the three. What do you think, Andre, on that?
I think that Disney's probably looking very, very hungrily at Sony right about in this moment.
That could be another possibility, but I have a feeling if Disney... Here's the thing with Disney on that, and I've thought of that too, Andre, is Disney makes any more moves, I think the government's going to step in. They got lucky with buying Fox. I doubt they'll let them buy another one.
I don't know about that. There's some very, very strong ties between Disney management and so I think that Bob Iger, who still has a significant
it could
stake,
be a situation where Apple gets involved with
he talks a little bit with Biden and stuff, and they're going to bypass.
Or on that note, it could be a possibility where Apple gets involved with both because Apple's already so embedded with Disney. You're right. That could be
what I think.
Yeah, we're going to ask you next, Paulie. Anyway, so go ahead.
I'm combing my hair because I had to take my hat off.
Oh, because
too many Mexicans wearing hats in horror movies. I mean, that's a whole nother show.
We need just Mexican horror movies, period.
Mexicans and horror movies.
Did you know that once Jason was going to go up against Cheech and Chong?
Oh man,
they almost made that movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that Army of Dead has another lot of Latinos in that cast. I still haven't seen it yet. But
I don't think there is just a straight up Latino horror film, though, is there?
There is that Murder in the Woods.
Of course there is. There's many, but here's like the thing: when you say like Latino, I mean that doesn't really help.
American made, I mean, exactly is what my
point. No, Andre's coming from the European.
Yeah, I mean, like, because when I think of like certain things, like a lot of what's his face from Jordan Peele or whatever,
right?
The stuff he makes.
Cheech and Chong horror film would be really cool.
That would be hilarious.
I'm surprised they never did that.
Versus Cheech and Chong. Well, they were going to for Friday the 13th Part 6. But they changed their minds, so and probably for good reason at that point.
Oh, well, the path not taken.
Well, it was a better choice for them because Part 6 is kind of what reinvigorated the series at that point. So
I still need to see Army of the Dead. I know people are saying it sucks. I got to see that. Anyways.
Yeah. And then said, "Hi, Lorena Griol. Sorry, I missed it. Just in time, or just not in time."
Hi, Lorena.
Yeah, and Super Blubber Plus.
I got to give him James Nicholson. This is hilarious. He says, "I know it has Tom, but I'd hardly call it a horror movie, Paulie." Ouch. I have a sense of humor, don't worry.
I mean, you have to if you're doing this.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You have to.
What I love more than anything is when people keep doing like those memes with my faces on stupid shit. I love that stuff.
Oh, I created a meme, guys, of my Chihuahua. Anyway, sorry.
I got to see that. But anyway, sorry.
Sorry. It's really hilarious.
Yeah. We're soon caught up here. Super Blubberpuss says 60s Bond with Bruce Campbell. Count me in. Yeah, that's where Bond belongs. And Joachim Stark sent us 100 Swedish krona, saying 100 for episode 100. Tusen tack, Joachim. And Michael Shawnee says for $9.99, First Man was great. Saw that at the cinema and have it on Blu-ray. Watched it 4 times. Excellent. Yes, one of the best movies ever made. And Nathan Robinson says for $10. What a magnificent panel. Happy 100. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Adam Wofford says for $5. They won't hire Michael J. White because he's a strong black man and he's badass. I would like to see him in more big Hollywood movies. Yeah, he's really cool, and yeah, that goes straight to the point of what Kamran Pasha said. It's just a little bit too masculine, strong black man, and they prefer the Steve Urkel type. That's the character, not the actor, because the actor is actually also
they go super effeminate gay with him. That's the other.
Yeah, that too. That's also okay. And Darius Munchausen says, happy 100th episode of Midnight's Edge in the Morning. Oh, thank you. And also Jillian N said for $4.99. Thank you so much. Hail panel and congratulations on the 100th show. Thank you.
Thank you.
And HyperGyver2 points out Johanna Constantine is not a gender bent of John Constantine. She is his ancestor from the 18th and 19th century. Yes, I know, but here's like the thing. They have, by the looks of it, they have made her take over the John Constantine part of the movie. So there's going to be Johanna Constantine flashbacks, and if what we can read from what Neil Gaiman said in the cast announcement, they're going to bring Johanna Constantine into the current day instead of John Constantine. So functionally, like John's still going to be out there, but we haven't seen that he's actually in this series. So maybe they still have a surprise. Maybe they're still going to have have the guy whose name I always forget, the guy from Kingsman, who did the audio for John Constantine in the audible version of it, which is fantastic. Maybe they're going to have him show up as a surprise. I would love for that to happen. But so far, based on the reading and what Gaiman has said himself, there will be no John Constantine. Johanna Constantine has his part. That kind of sucks a little bit. And Diego Flores, our good friend, says, congratulations for 100. Hail, my Lord Doomcock. And we got some style in here with Polly and that hat. Lorena, lovely as ever. Tom, when you wearing that dress?
Soon, I hope. I got to hit Jay up about that again. Thanks for reminding me.
And Demo Boy 125 says for £10. Will we ever see a Hollywood-length movie set in the CCP universe, akin to CCP Overlord or CCP Dollhouse level of quality? I don't know what CCP is. So anyone in the chat, if you can let me know, then will you please too. What is CCP? But
outside of the China thing, I have no idea.
China and Russia?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
USSR, CCCP?
No, this is SCP. SCP.
Oh, you said CCPs.
I said that, or I've said wrong. I mean SCP. SCP Universe. Is that Stargate or something like that? Stargate?
SG.
Yeah, but not SC.
Yeah, no. Again, the exact wording is, will we ever see a Hollywood-length movie set in the SCP universe, akin to SCP Overlord or SCP Dollhouse level of quality? And
I'm lost.
I don't know what SCP is.
Secure, content, protect, same
people are going off in the chat.
Yeah, they have no idea either.
Right. Study, contain, and protect.
Yeah, this is not something that I'm... okay, Etienne Falardeau says SCP is some horror creepy pastas.
I don't...
I have no idea what that is. So if it suddenly takes off, then yeah, who knows? Maybe.
Who sent the super chat?
Demo Boy 125.
So please, just if you can, just add us and let us know what you meant by that. Sorry.
Yeah. And Jillian N says for $19.99. Yeah, before then, Tom, you were saying?
Okay, I think we know what it is here. Universe, a fan project on Supernatural, and then Mr. Tickle Trunk says it's a writing group of amateur horror writers.
Okay.
They got woke, I guess.
Oh, okay. Well,
this is the first I've heard of them.
There you go.
So,
yeah.
Unfortunately, in my world, I can't keep up with a lot of the
abbreviations.
Well, not just abbreviations, but a lot of the fan stuff, because it's just difficult to keep up with in general, just all the
you have
regular stuff. So
then you have to please clarify exactly what that is. But yeah, no, I don't think so. If it was like a fan thing and it's gone woke, of course that increases the chances right now in this moment, or at least 1 year ago. But I would not put money on it. And Jillian N, moving on, says for $19.99. Thank you so much, Jillian. That really makes a difference. And she says, the woke don't want to end bigotry. They want endless struggle, so they can feel like they're doing something productive by canceling people on Twitter. They don't have the talent and or ambition to do anything truly helpful. Yes, I agree with you completely. Again, they don't want equality. They don't want peace. They want misery and they want oppression. They just want to oppress someone else.
And impress.
So you're absolutely right. And Dash D's says for another $5 Canadian. Thank you so much. The Irregulars were a Star Wars offshoot from the Clone Wars at one point. Okay, well, there you go. And Etienne Falardeau says for $5 Canadian dollars, some of Netflix kid shows are fine, like Go Dog Go and Archibald's Next Big Thing. But then you have garbage like Camp Cretaceous. Yeah, that looks pretty awful. But you know what's pretty cool? Storybots. The Storybots ain't bad, at least what I've seen of it. So they do have some decent stuff for kids on Netflix.
I haven't seen the Camp Cretaceous. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Andre. I thought you were done.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of like other good stuff on Netflix. There's like one that's pretty decent, but I forget the name of it. Like some animated kitty with loads of colors and everything. It was pretty cool. Like I don't hate watching it, and that's a sign of quality right there when it comes to being forced to watch kids show. And then Harry Nice Guy says for €5, congrats to your 100th show. Keep up what you're doing. Robert Meyer Burnett, Doomcock. Oh yeah, we got this one already. I asked for that, so thanks very much. And says, hi Robert, and I missed that one too. So again, sorry, but I'll be sure to let him know next time we speak. And Golgo13, aka Brandon Brandon Golgo13, aka Brandon the Infinite Wolf, says, hey Andre, Tom, Paulie, Robert. Paulie, that is great news. I don't know if Star Wars can be saved or should be saved. If George Lucas rides the ship, great. If not, bummer. Yeah, that would be something. And Rush Patel says, I think The Shadow needs a show adaptation. Maybe a 30-minute runtime per episode. Yeah, I'd be all about The Shadow show, because basically everything from the 1920s, 1930s, that's something that our culture currently really needs to go back to. Because that's some positive role modeling right there. So I agree with you completely on that. Shadow rules. And then we have two for you, Paulie. Paulie, you there? Just wanted to check first.
Oh yeah, I'm right here.
Yeah. Adam Wofford, he says, hey, Paulie, my daughter enjoys your shows. I don't know what most of you guys are saying, but she's always laughing. She just turned 10 this month, and she can speak Spanish.
All right, cool. Well, check out Midnight's Edge Espanol tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific. And we're every Tuesday and Thursday mornings. We're going to start having guests and stuff, and we cover a lot of good stuff. We're having a good time. Thanks a lot, Adam.
Yes, very cool. And Kaiju King Gabriel says, I disagree with the Camp Cretaceous comment. It is great and dark. Highly recommended. Okay, maybe I'll have to give it another look then. And then we have, let's see, Hypergiver 2 says, Andre, watch Agretsuko. It's death metal Hello Kitty. Okay. Well, I shall add it to the list. It sounds like anime, so it will not be the top of my list, but I shall add it to the list. So thanks for the tip of Agretsuko. And then let's hope for the best for that. And I'm just going to do a quick refresh to check that we got everything. Let's see. Yeah, with that we got everything. So then we are all caught up, which is pretty brilliant. So, Paulie, you are dropping a video soon, aren't you? Let's talk about that a tiny little bit.
Oh yeah, in a couple hours again, the controversies over the filming of Scarface. It's a quick video. It's like an addendum piece, and then that's later on in this evening. Tonight we do the whole retrospective. So I thought I'd would release the kind of like more analytical, like facts and all that stuff first. That's a good side piece for people to check out, stuff they didn't know about Scarface, like what a box office flop it was. So yeah.
Yeah, very, very cool. And also check back here very, very soon, because we have a video coming today as well. A video where we do a discussion on what Henry Cavill taking on Highlander means for the future of Superman, as well as an overview, very quick overview, of just how troubled a property Highlander really is. So that is coming very, very soon here as well.
Yeah, if I can just say, yes, the Al Pacino remake we're talking about, not the old Cagney, yeah.
And I can't wait to get on that Highlander, the full retrospective one. The one we got coming out is pretty good, but yeah.
Yeah. But it's just a starter on the full Highlander thing, so that should be something really, really cool.
Yeah, that was kind of funny because like we were doing this new one and Andre wanted a little retro. I'm like, Andre, you don't understand. For us to get into this history, we need like 10 videos. Yeah. This is one of the most troubled franchises when it comes to the stuff we cover here at Midnight's Edge. It is just chock full of it. So I can't wait to break into that stuff.
Indeed. And then tomorrow it's Midnight's Edge Espanol, isn't it, Paulie?
Yes. I stand corrected. Paul Muni was the original Scarface, not Cagney. Cagney wasn't the original Scarface. Cagney is connected by name when Tony Montana lists him in the movie, so I'm always thinking of Cagney first. But you are right, Avenger Girl. But yeah, so tomorrow, 9 a.m. Yesterday we went over, and Tom was a guest, so that was pretty cool. We're still looking up. We're gonna go over the Tomorrow War trailer, and working on a couple other things. Just as far, working on a couple other things as far as how it hits differently in Latin America, and then soon we're gonna have a big Latin American YouTuber, Gorosito TV, on with us. He's a really cool dude, got a great following in Latin America, and trying to work that out. He's a big fan of Midnight's Edge and Midnight's Edge Espanol, Gorosito TV. But just check us out, Midnight's Edge Espanol. Go and subscribe right now. Do it.
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah, exactly. The link is also in the featured channel, so right here, along with Paul is Latino Slant. Yeah. So go and check that out.
And I want to say that since Carrie's, who is a member, thank you for that, brings up, let's have a Highlander watch party. You guys brought that up so much the other day when we were on the show that I actually reached out to somebody who I knew had to be a Highlander fan. And I know you all know who he is. I'm not going to spoil it yet, because we haven't set it in stone yet, but we are going to plan on not having so much of a watch party. But you see, I'm not trying to call Andre out here, but Andre hasn't seen Highlander in forever, and he's never seen any of the sequels. So he's got to get on board the train and check Highlander out, because he remembers not enjoying it very much. And I'm just like, what is wrong with you, Andre? Highlander is everything we love. It's like, as far as like the stuff that Andre and I bond over, like He-Man and Conan, and it fits right in there. So it's like, how can you not? So he's going to check it out, and we're going to talk about it. And I'm not going to say who, but you guys can probably take a wild guess in the dark who is going to chit-chat with us about that movie. So when we have more info on that, we'll let you know. Right, Andre?
Yes, indeed. So we just have to lock down a date, and we will have a Highlander watch party / discussion. And again, I saw it when I was, I don't know how old I was, but I wasn't old enough to appreciate it. This is for certain.
Everybody's guessing already.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I'm jealous.
I love when I asked him, I'm like, do you like, he's like, I'm Scottish. What do you think? And he grew up in the 80s. What do you think?
Right.
Yeah, there you go. then we got, let's see. Oh, and here, Kit Kat sent us a hippo super sticker. That's super cute. And thank you so much for the support, Kit Kat, another loyal member. And to any members who might be wondering, there's more Norse mythology and behind-the-scenes stories coming now in the next couple of days. And I think we're going to try for like a membership stream this weekend. Because I know last time people requested we should do it on a Saturday. So maybe we'll try to go for it on Saturday. Maybe we'll have a membership stream then. So
yes, we need to have one.
We'll hammer that down very, very soon, so that
I think Saturday's a good plausibility.
Yeah. So sometime this coming Saturday, we're going to have a membership stream, exclusive membership stream where you can call in and join us and everything. Well, that should be good fun.
I could say something really quick.
Absolutely.
Yeah, go for it.
Avenger Girl, bring her up. I mean, you need to see our discussion on Scarface and interesting things that she's bringing up. So yeah, please check it out. But Scarface, I'll say right now, is one of the greatest gangster films ever. The 1983. So fight me.
First you get the money, then you get the power, then you get the women, money. That's how it goes.
Yeah, exactly. It's very important to have things in order here. And with that, yes. I do believe that we have covered everything that we have for today. Again, I would like to say thank you to Polly for being here, to Lorena, to our liege Doomcock himself for gracing us with his presence, and of course Kamran Pasha. So we'll all have them back. And Scott wonders, why does Andre never have a webcam here? Well, I don't have one. I don't have a webcam, so that's super easy. I can turn my camera. I can turn my camera on, and the only thing that happens then is that you're going to get like a mirror image of the screen because there's no webcam actually connected.
I have been bugging him about this for so long that eventually we'll get him a webcam. So, but we got to get on that, Andre. Seriously, that's the only reason why I generally just that, and I just know people don't want it. Yeah. Andre, oh God, let's not even get into this. Let's not even get into that.
Well, why did you bring it up, dude?
I didn't.
Oh,
well, you're saying it. I just thought it was a good one.
Oh Lord.
Oh.
Well, maybe now that Jeremy of Geeks and Gamers got a new cam, we'll ask him if we can get his cheap $75 webcam he always used to
yeah, we'll see.
Maybe that's what you need is this cheap $75 webcam. I actually got a 4K cam here that was not too expensive, but again, nobody wants to see my face. I have a face for radio, so
yeah. All right, and with that,
and you already see my ugly mug here, so
yeah. And with that, I do believe we are fully caught up here for the most part. So again, there's Buster Friends right there. Be sure.
Wait, hold on, really fast. You have The World Is Mine. Yeah, baby.
I usually have that close by.
Yeah, you do. Scarface tonight.
Yep.
Don't be a hater. Watch the film and watch the retro.
Say hello to my little friend.
Yes, indeed. And also, be sure to check back here very soon because we got that Highlander video dropping, the first of 2. So that should be awesome. So with that, also a special thank you to everyone who's been watching. We have almost 900 watching still after a nearly 4-hour-long show. That's fantastic. It's awesome to have you all here. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much for the super chats and the super stickers. They really, really make a difference. And yeah, to think this has now been going for 100 shows, and I look forward to the next 100 and eventually the 1,000. So it's going to be awesome.
Does this mean now we're in syndication? And we
yes,
may have missed Hyperguyver's super chat.
We did. Okay, I'm going to go and check.
Double check that just in case.
Yeah.
Congratulations, you two.
One with Andre Watch Agretsuko. It's Death Metal Hello Kitty. If it's that one, we did not miss it.
Okay, well, if not, we got it again just to make sure. So there you go.
Yeah, well, we got it again just now. But and as I said, I've added it to the list, just not very high up, but it's on the list. I'm going to see if there's some other ones.
And from Rush Patel. Rush Patel.
Rush Patel. Did we miss one there too? Rush Patel says, I think The Shadow needs a show adaptation.
Oh, we got that one.
Maybe a 30-minute runtime per episode. Yeah, we got that one.
Yep.
And before then, Hyperguyver 2 also pointed out that Johanna Constantine is actually from the comics. And yes,
yep,
we got
I remember we got that one too. Yeah, just in case, real quick, if anybody thinks we missed one, just let us know real quick and we'll double check. Yep.
Yeah, while you're doing that, in honor of Scarface is the only shirt I have.
That's a nice one. I've got the one where Homer's like Scarface, but he's got the remote control. And I got one and another one I got is really cool. Is basically John Wick, but it looks like the Scarface poster.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
It's got the black and white. Yeah. I don't have a Scarface shirt, believe it or not. That's one I don't have, I don't think.
And I don't see another super chat from Rush Patel, so it was the Shadow one, to which, yes, I agree, we really could use a Shadow series, because stuff from the 90s and 20s were tight. Let's just put it that way.
All right. Well, with that, I don't see anybody else saying we missed any more. So there was no other ones from Rush Patel besides that one, though, just to be sure.
I didn't see any. I can go through them all again, but I only saw that one, but I'll double check.
While you're looking, Feige Lives says, I'll be honest, I think Tom has a sexy face. And that isn't me sending that in, by the way, either. So that's totally not me. No, I have no... Thank you for that. And Sean says, that was a great show and great guest today. Yeah, I can't thank our guests enough for coming in. So the new show called Fat and Skinny was slanted.
Whoa, what?
Well, somebody made a joke earlier about how Siskel and Ebert was the fat guy and the skinny guy, but the skinny guy was bald, but I'm the shorter fat guy probably. So I'm taking all the bad stuff for Paulie. Paulie can be the sexy guy in the situation. And that's the best part, is standing next to me, he looks even that much greater. So, yeah.
How tall are you, Tom?
I'm about 5'9", 5'10".
Yeah. Well, that's funny.
There was no one else. So that one must have been the one, because it was the only one I could see from Rush Patel today. So
all right, well. With that, I think we got them all, and I want to thank everybody for joining us for our 100th episode here. Almost 1,000 of you still watching. That's awesome. I believe Az and Robert are going over on Hot Toys, so head on over there and tell them we sent you and say hi. We'd appreciate that, and do check later on for our discussion with Mr. H and myself over on Paulie's channel. About Scarface, and is our video dropping this afternoon, Andre, or is that probably tomorrow morning?
No, that's dropping today. I can
dropping today. So wait for that here shortly. That'll be dropping. So thanks again, guys.
I'm dropping it in half an hour or maybe in 15 minutes.
Oh well, stick around. We'll be dropping that
first.
Soon.
That's first.
There we go.
Is the Midnight's Edge video? Then later on.
Well, hell, if you got a link, send it to me. I'll put it in the chat.
You talking to me?
Well, they've been sharing the link for your show. I meant Andre with the
Andre,
the Highlander.
Yeah, sure. Give me 1 second here.
Yeah, so we'll get that in the chat, guys. And while we're doing that, we're going to leave you guys with some koalas in the rain. As always, thank you so much, guys. I don't think it'd be a show without koalas in the rain. So for the 100th time, I believe it is.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given. Koalas in the rain.